All right, what's up, warriors? Welcome back to the battlefield of the mind. I am Rick, and I am joined here today with ASA LeVo, and we are going to have one of those conversations that you are going to want to just be like, I want to turn it off, but I can't. It's too good. So we're going to find out who's ASA, what's going on with their life, and then we're going to get into the same hardcore, let's break some shit down conversations. We always do. That's the reason you love this shit. So ASA LeVo, let the people know, who are you?
Well, of course. So first off, Rick, thank you for having me on. I do not take this lightly. It is a very significant thing to be on your platform, for any platform. Let me not act like I have arrived and yes, bow before me, you podcasters. So I am very deeply grateful for this opportunity. For those of you who are co-creating the show with us, hello to you too. For those of you who are not aware of who I am, it is ASA LeVo. It's not ASA. It's not ASA. It's not Asia. Do not let those three letters mess you up. It is ASA LeVo. And what I do is I transform experts into industry icons in 4 steps. I'll say that again. I transform experts into industry icons in 4 steps. On a basic note, it just means I help you get paid for what you know rather than what you do. And I do that with our agency called House of Icons. And we've been doing this work for over a decade.
Mm-hmm. I already like the way you speak about it, because there's so many people these days who are like, all right, let's help you do this, do that, do this, do this. You're like, no. Let's do it for what and who you are, not for what it is that you're going to do, because what you know and what you can to create that's authentic makes it so you are more marketable than just this skill that you've developed. Am I hearing you right?
You are hearing me correctly, and not just that, but it also allows you to do it with longevity, because if you're doing that in a costume or a mask because you think that quote unquote professionalism needs to be packaged in a particular way, you are going to burn out eventually and then have this whole meltdown that's public. Like, I just don't have anything left to give.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to happen for you.
I've seen this so much. I feel like I'm going to go into, let's see if we have similar pet peeves. When it comes to this industry, the reason that you've created this need that needs to be taken care of is because you see things going like, oh my God, what are you doing? That's wrong. And I just had a conversation with the guy who's like, you know what? I finally want to bite the bullet. I'm going to get on social media. All right, so I got to find my niche, and I got to figure out who's my avatar, and I got to do this thing, and it's got to be this right way. And maybe if I try and create a program that's around like my daughter and me, what if I could get her to do a thing so that people like what we're doing with this? And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I'm like, why don't you try being something that nobody else is doing? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, why don't you just be you? Because there's no other of those out there. Why don't you just do that? Now, that was something where I'm like, just we're struggling so hard for authenticity in this world, and people are trying so hard to fit the blueprint of be what I think you should tell me I should be, and who I'm allowed to say and allowed to do to be me. What's your thoughts? Because I mean, like, you have to have something in you that's like, no.
So I'm with you in while someone is aspiring. If you are aspiring to truly be an icon in your industry, being someone that is able to receive fame and affluence and money from what you know, when you start, yes, I'm going to tell you, do the shit. Like, why are we still talking? Why are you doing everything other than being you? Seth Godin, I believe it was Seth Godin, he has a book called The Purple Cow. But one thing about the purple cow is that no one can create or color in your purple cow. You must come with that. It's great to have an understanding of your avatar, the psychoanalysis of your target market. All of those things are very good things. And when you start, you might not know any of those things because you just need to do what you know to do now. And so I definitely understand this analysis paralysis that many individuals come to me with. And they're like, well, ASA, I don't have. And ASA, I don't have. Well, if you started to actually do things and take action, you would have. But we cannot perfect nothingness.
I misinterpret, so I'm going to reinterpret what I heard back. You said if you're aspiring, here's what you need to do. You need to do the be you.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the be
Exactly.
you. Be you. Do that. Go do that. Go be you.
Go
And the
do that.
purple
Yes.
cow, even in my journey, that's when I found it. The purple cow is something that you find when you're trying to reveal you to yourself. When you go and do
Yes.
things, you'll find who you really are. It's not about your circumstances. It's going to be about, man, how did I handle it? Or what am I finding about myself? Or now that I'm in this and the way that I deal with things shows me to me. And this is how you discover your authenticity in your own purple cow. Have you seen that too with the people you work with?
Yes, I have seen that. Most times, there's two reasons people come to me. Number one, they come to me when they are just starting out. So they had heard somewhere, somehow, you can get paid for what you know. And they are desiring for me to support them in that. The next option is someone who's been in business for years and they are now a carbon copy of the coach or consultant that they have worked with for the last few years. Because a lot of times that's what happens. You will find a coach or consultant that is an egomaniac and they are pressing their thumbprint into your forehead, which shows up in your branding so that you actually have no authenticity. You are literally just a carbon copy. And we know what carbon copies look like. They are radical, depleted variations of the original. And you can't sustain that because it's not you. And so with those two types of people that come to me, I will say to both of them, understand who it is you are down to the molecular structure of your DNA. Because if you do not, you will burn out and you will burn out quickly.
This is actually, it sounds beautiful. It's the postcard, it's the meme, it's the answer, right? And this is where people get screwed up, is because the answer is not the solution. Know thyself. That's really cool. I love the idea, right? Know thyself. But
Yes.
we're in an age right now where knowing thyself is one of the hardest things to do. Even when I ask people, some of the toughest questions that I have is like, well, who are you? It's like, no, not what do you do? Who are you? And people are like, I don't know. Like I do this and this. I'm like, those are what you do. Who are you? And then here's another really, really hard question. Well, what do you want? And
Right.
we get jammed. We're jammed. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. So how do I do this know myself thing? Even when I train people, it takes months for me to really get like, is that your authenticity or is that someone else's belief system? Is that who you are?
Right.
Or is that what somebody told you need to be accepted? Is that you? Who the hell is that? And how do I know if I'm being me, if I'm trying to do what you tell me I need to do to be me? Ugh.
Yep. You said that exactly correct. And I am very excited and that I can answer both of those questions if you ever ask me those questions. And maybe that the fact that I'm 40 has helped me reach, because I don't know if I was able to truly answer those questions at 27 or 37. But at 40, I stand with all feet sure footed that I can answer those questions.
Let's show them, because I would say it's a 1 percentile of people who can truly answer those questions. So who are you, Asa? Who are
Who
you?
am I? Who is ASA LeVo? ASA LeVo is a divine being who was sent on this rock called Earth to ensure that every single being that was placed in front of me understands how divine they are. So I am here to remind you of your divinity. That's who I am, a divine being who was sent here to remind you of your divinity. That's who I am.
Got it. So this sounds like a purpose. This is the purpose I exist is. This is my purpose.
Most definitely. I
Now,
exist, but yes.
now remember, I have to be Socratic here. I don't know what that means. What does divine mean so I can make sure I'm doing it?
So divine came from, there are a couple of teachers of thought. One being Neville Goddard, the other being Abraham Hicks. I also am a student of Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith from the Agape Spiritual Center out in Los Angeles. And those individuals tell you the following: you are not a child of God. You are God. Now, before you cancel me like Kanye, for those who are listening, when I or the teachers that I listen to say that, we're not saying it in a way that's egotistical. We're saying we are all gods. Okay, it's like this. If your last name is Williams and your dad is a Williams, your mom is a Williams, and you're a Williams, and someone asks you, so are you a child of a Williams? Like, no, I'm not just a child of a Williams, I'm a Williams. Same context. You're not a child of God, you are God. It may have been Rumi or the Buddha that has said something. It's enlightenment, or a term of enlightenment is when you look into the ocean and you realize that you are not a drop in the ocean, but you are the ocean. So rather than speaking to, praying to, manifesting to something outside of yourself, having the understanding that you are a small part of God, praying and asking support from the big part of God, it's still the same thing.
This gets screwed up very quickly. So if I am
yes.
God, this is easy for me to be misconstrued. Well, ASA says I am God. And so since I am God, I am the one calling the shots here. So one of the schools of thought, and this is the second oldest religion, is meism. Well, I am like God because I am God. So what I say and do is the center of how all things work. Asa says I'm God, so I'm God. So I am the one who calls the damn shots in this place. Free will, motherfuckers. So I'm the boss around here. It's like, well, hold on. What is it that you truly mean? Because I've heard different perspectives on this to make it connected and not more, like you said, egotistical. I am the center of all.
So when I say that, I am not under any premise that I am controlling all things. The only thing that I am controlling is myself, my experience, the world that I am creating. I have no business in anyone else's world that is being created for them. We are all living inside of the thoughts and the desires that we once had. Where we are right now is based on what we once thought could happen, or once what we thought that could be created. So because of that, I have no business telling people what they need to be doing, doing my best to interject myself into their realities, into what they're being created. Now, we can co-create a world. Yes, I would love to help you co-create some things, but be clear that my divinity is not the totality of your divinity. Not at all. Not at all. It's like Mount Olympus. They were all gods. They had different powers, and yet they were all together. That's all this is. But rather than, if you know about mythology, rather than Zeus being, the master, like the king of Mount Olympus, imagine that everyone is Zeus. Everyone has that level of power. And so someone may say, well, Asa, if we're all gods, then how can we all, do what we want to do? How can there be enough? Well, that lets you know that you are operating in a lack mindset. You have a critical belief that there's just not enough. And I am here to tell you there's enough, because not everybody desires, wants, is going to be fulfilled by the same thing. We just think that everybody wants that. Everyone does not want $1 million. Everyone does not want that house that you've been having on your vision board for the last 18 years. Everybody doesn't want that. However, whatever it is that we desire, we can have. Once you understand that you are operating in a divinity that is real and palpable.
It sounds like you're leaning more into the soul's power leans into manifestation. Like you can achieve what you believe, but you have to believe that you are capable of achieving it.
Believing is everything. Believing There's nothing that I did first that was not first yet a belief. I'll take this a little bit further. If for those of you who are co-creating this episode with us right now, if you can look around, whether it's in your car, you're on the train, you're walking around, just look, literally look around you right now. Once upon a time, everything that you see resided in someone's mind. Everything that you see was once upon a time, quote unquote, unrealistic. It does not make any sense right now that I am seeing a fan swirling on my ceiling that is cooling me. Once upon a time, that was literally witchcraft. Unrealistic. There's no reason why I have I have the Ohm symbol stamped into bronze on my necklace. Once upon a time, someone said, you can't do that. We are residing in other people's beliefs. Literally, we are residing in everyone's beliefs. And so that's why I tell my clients all the time, you can't say what's realistic, because once upon a time, everything we see right now was unrealistic, quote unquote.
It was, well, I mean, I like the idea of this. It's almost what came to mind for me was like, we're surrounded by other people's dreams.
Yes, we are residing in dreams. Yeah, you were dreaming. And when you wake up, you just reside in other people's dreams.
Well, each product that we have here is somebody who's like, I got an idea, something I want to build, something I want to create. You know, it could be everything from books. It could be everything to like, I want to have like the reason I've got masking tape here for presents. Well, somebody's like, I want to make a masking tape company. I want to make one that does that. I want to make a company that makes brushes. That's what I want. I want to make a company that creates coffee cups that say, I freaking love you. That's what my dream is. I want to make something that does a thing. Somebody's like, you know what? I want to make a better marker. That's what I want to do. I'm going to create that. I got an idea and it's going to be awesome. And people will try and destroy your dreams. That's a stupid idea. There's already marker companies. There's already tape companies. There's already brushes created. You can't do that. It's not good enough. Or that's a stupid idea. It'll never work. Right now, we're talking through space right now. Remember, even if you're 40, I'm 41, I'll be 42 in March. We're in the same age bracket. This, when we were growing up, was space age technology.
It was the Jetsons.
Video. This is better than the Jetsons. This is like watching Back to the Future and they did a video call. I'm like, that's impossible. Even the concept of a touchscreen was alien tech when we were young. We had freaking pagers. Like, the touchscreen gets serious. There's no way. And here we are now. We are in space age technology, alien tech. This was somebody's dream at some point to go, we're going to make it work. And now I don't even know where in the country you are, but we get to have this conversation face to face. How cool.
Very cool.
I like the idea. We are in the middle of people's beliefs, and those beliefs created dreams, and those dreams only exist because someone believed they could exist and then had the action to make them exist. And we're surrounded by all of the decisions that someone had to believe in themselves, even in the spite of people who didn't. We're surrounded with it. Everything that we have is somebody believed I could make that. I can make that happen. I believe I can create it. And they did. And now we own it. The hats, the pens, the shoes, the chairs, everything around you, everything you see. Somebody's like, we can make that. I don't care if it's a Halloween costume. Someone's like, ooh, I can make that. I love it. And I think it's great. This is a good awareness for people. Like, did you know that we're surrounded by dreams? Do you have one too? Because other people, they had them.
And that there's enough grace and space for your dream to reside as well.
Yeah. That's a belief that challenges limiting beliefs. There's enough for you to have that dream. So let's go into something that you have to do. I fight this, you fight this. We've had to beat this demon back. It's one of my favorite battles to do. It's a stupid idea, ASA. It's never going to work. That can't happen. No one. I don't know anyone who's ever done that before. You can't do that. That's not possible.
So number one, no one in my world would say that shit to me ever.
Why not?
That's one.
Why not?
No one. Well, I have The same way that a master pruner can prune a bonsai tree over years, moment by moment with intention to create this beautiful tree. I have pruned my circle. So one piece of evidence to show that I have pruned my circle is that I don't believe I have haters, quote unquote. Why? Number one, when the concept of haters, what happens, there's a couple things that happen. Number one, no one actually comes up to you and says, I hate you. That's not a thing. And if they do, it be on. Like, let's just go on and do it. Like, if you want to see the me that was in Afghanistan in '03, then let's get it popping. But I don't have those experiences anymore, thankfully, gratefully. But I don't think most of us do, as far as, even if those of us who think we have haters, no one's coming up to you and actually saying it. Number two, a lot of times what does happen though, is there are individuals in your circle who say the following. Well, so-and-so said, well, can you believe that they told me this? No one in my circle has been granted permission to share with me any information that is not joyous in its foundation. That's been for the last decade.
Why are they not able to do that? What is the reason that they're
I don't
not
allow
able?
them.
They do not have permission. So you don't allow.
I do not allow.
So what do you mean by that? Because there's a lot of elements here that you said I've almost transcended the regular in order to have these systems that are in place. Well, let's just call what it is. 99% of people have not transcended these spaces to have these experiences. How do I not allow somebody to gossip? How do I not allow somebody to rumor? How do I not allow someone to say, oh, do you know so-and-so did a thing? How do I not allow others to speak what they speak? What do you mean?
Set a boundary that has consequences and that you fulfill upon. As simple as that.
Okay, give me an example, because I'll tell you right now, people fuck up boundaries all day. They don't know what it means.
They do.
Let's get into some semantics. All right, I want to do that. Oh my gosh, ASA, I'm screwing this up. People are saying shit all the time. How do I set up a boundary with a consequence to make it so I can control what others say? How do I do that?
Right. So I have a friend, and he came to me. He's like, well, we were in conversation, and they were like, ASA loves to hear himself talk. I said, okay, we need to have that conversation right now. He was like, what conversation? I said, so when you told me that, how did what you just told me, how was that meant to support my day, support my dream, love me? How was that meant to love me? Well, I don't see how it was. Okay. So as my friend, are you desiring to do things that are not loving to me? And it's okay if you have that, but I'm just wanting to know, do you desire to provide me things that are unloving to me? Well, no. Well, do you think that felt loving? Well, no. Okay. So I'm not here to make you wrong at all. All I'm saying is, in order to be friends with me consistently, if you would like to, I will not have any information provided to me that is not meant to be loving in nature. Do you agree? Do you have the capacity to ensure that that's a reality? He was like, well, yeah. I was like, great. Then we're good. And I never had to have that conversation again.
So you brought awareness to their own intention.
I did.
So this is the thing, like ASA loves to hear himself talk. Now, this is also another aspect of these things where, like, if you take any cadence out of the sentence, if they said Rick loves to hear himself talk. Well, even if I remove what's your intention behind that? Just go like, well, is that true or not true? I mean, sometimes I do like to hear the shit I say. So, I mean, some of it is. I mean, yeah, I guess part of it I do love to hear myself. Yeah, that I like to tell stories. I like to communicate. I like to have that back and forth discord. So part of it's true. I mean, can't be mad at you for the observation. Yeah, that's there. So It's more of a understanding intent and then setting up, if your intent is to do harm, I will not associate. I will create the flex on my independence and autonomy that I do not need to be codependent with you. And I will separate from people whose intent is to do harm. So is your
Yes.
intent to do things that are meant to be unloving, not love? Is your intent that? And like, oh my God, no, I didn't realize that I even speak that way. Well, you're revealing you to
Right.
you, but I don't know if I necessarily need to be a part of someone whose intent is to do harm. And my flex, my boundary is I remove myself from those types of interactions. Do you want to be that guy or do you want to be this guy? Because you can be
Exactly.
either. You can be
And
either one.
some
You can
and
be the hater and the herder. You can do that.
yeah, you can be the herder of haters.
Yeah.
So, and I
Even
get
still,
that.
all haters need boundaries for herders of haters.
And some may say, well, Asa, you knew what he was talking about. You knew that he was trying to do this to you. So here's the thing. I didn't. I had to ask him all of those questions because I once read a book called The Four Agreements. And one of those
Yeah.
agreements is do not assume. So I did not desire to assume I knew what he meant. I knew what he felt. I knew what he intended. Because if I don't have clear evidence, if I don't have good intel, and over 20 years in the military has taught me, you might not have all the intel. And so if I don't have that, I cannot move forward.
Yeah, I Don Miguel Ruiz crushes it in that book. So
Yes,
I'm
he
very
does.
much with you on the Four Agreement. Like I reread it again last year, and I was like, I read it was like 17 years before that. I read it before, and I was like, now I know
Yep.
way more. And I'm like, I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
how compact he was on slaying these things. He was
Even though the book is
deliberate.
so small.
Yeah, but he condenses like a big book into a small book by how like
Yeah.
precise his paragraphs are. So he does a good job. I didn't realize the power
Yeah.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to the sentence that your friends who have good intentions were doing oh, well, you knew, Asa. You knew what he meant. You knew, which to me reveals how much shit do you make up people know?
Right.
Wait a second. If you just made up that I knew what you think they knew, how much did you make up what we both know is what you know?
Great question. That's a great question that I have not been privy to until this moment. I've never looked at it in that way. Like, yeah, if you think that about me and my interactions with others, what are you thinking about yourself and your own interactions that are just assumptive as hell?
How much
Yeah,
do
I
you
never.
make up what something I do means that you call a fact because you called it one? I'd be like,
Exactly.
Ace is wearing his blue hat. He thinks he's all that. You think you're better than everybody else. I just made that shit up right now. I didn't
Yeah, you
even
made the
ask you
shit up.
anything.
Now,
Just made it right up.
do I think I'm all that? Yes, because if I don't, who will? So I'm just gonna be out here just thinking I ain't shit. That's the dumbest hell.
Well, well, maybe it is. Here's where it gets into the all that or dumb as shit thing. Here's where it gets into that. All that compared to who?
And see, that's the thing. My all that has no comparison factor.
Which makes it true because of the belief of I am awesome doesn't
Right.
require a comparison. So for you to be not shit, you have to be compared to something that's considered better. But
Right.
what's better?
And so my, all that divine is because I am looking to be, I want to say this, I desire to say this in the most loving way. My my desire and knowing of how valid and divine and amazing and fucking awesome I am. That desire comes from another desire to be matched with other souls who feel the same about themselves. because they can feel that way about themselves, then they have the capacity a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times I see and have witnessed that they will then have the capacity to see that within me. And I desire
That's
to have a loving relationship where I do not have to diminish any aspect of who I be to make anyone else comfortable.
I love the idea. But what are the tools of destruction to make it so that a vast majority can't do that? What's in the way?
Them.
I would love to do that. Yeah, but what about them? What's them in the way? Because remember, everybody's doing their best. Doesn't mean good.
Yes.
Everyone's doing the best
Yes.
that they can. So if
That's
that's the
correct.
case, and I want to do what you did, and I want to have that thing, what's in the way of me being able to have that level of divine authenticity of loving myself? What is in the way? Because people want to know, holy shit, Asa, I want that. You have a thing. I want to fit in your group of people who have that level of self belief and self awareness and self joy and all these things that you said. This love thing. I want that shit, but I don't have it. What do you think is going to be like the most likely tools of destruction to prevent them from being in that circle?
What I have seen that prevents people from being in this new possibility is an unwillingness to focus on love, the love of themselves, and the love that is out there waiting to meet them where they are. That's what I have seen. You have an
Okay.
unwillingness to focus
Mm-hmm.
on that. Yeah,
I don't
it feels
want
better
to.
to
I don't have a
focus.
willingness. I don't
Yeah, if you don't
want
have,
to. I'm
then if you don't have a
unwilling.
willingness, then we don't even need to
Yeah.
have this conversation.
I don't have that, right? So what if I have a willingness, but I don't know how to focus on love because the one word love, I don't know what it means. So now I have to get into a little bit of a semantical question that's, galaxy big. Well,
Okay.
I want to focus on it. I'm willing, but I don't know what love is because I've only ever been hurt by it. So I don't know what love is.
You
And so I
haven't been
want to
hurt
know
by
what
love.
love is.
And that's the thing. You haven't been hurt by love. You've been hurt by people who have misconstrued or misinterpreted
Mm-hmm.
love. You haven't been hurt by
Dang
love.
it.
You've been hurt. Yeah.
Well,
You've been hurt by individuals who misuse love.
okay, so the word itself. So now, Asa, I want to know what love is. I
I love
want
that
you to
song.
show me. Like,
I
so,
so
all right,
love that song.
show me.
So
What is some love? Because right now it's a foreigner concept to me. I don't know what it is.
So even though I am no longer identified as a Christian, I identify as an omniist. I will say that the passage, I believe it's First Corinthians in the Bible, like love is patient, love is kind. Like we could start there. Even like again, I say as a non-Christian, I love that passage about what love is, and so we could start there. We could also start with when someone says, well, what is love? Like, how can I identify it? Well, when was the last time you smiled? I don't care if it was when you were 5. Well, I haven't smiled in 20 years. Okay, fine. When the last time you smiled, when that was 5, 10, whenever, what did that feel like? What did that feel like? And strip the feeling, because I believe in the feeling being the foundation of the ecosystem of life that you built for yourself. So, what did it feel like? Okay, what else did it feel like? What else did that feel like? And once you have about 10 different feelings, joy, it felt like wonder, it felt like amazement, it felt, all those different things. Okay, what can you experience in this moment to compound that feeling? What could you do? Could you eat something? Because yeah, you may be overweight, but guess what? If that Twinkie make you feel that way, then fuck it. Eat the fucking Twinkie. For right now, just so you can feel the fucking feeling. We can move to some other shit later. But right now, I want you to feel the feeling. If it's a Twinkie, go get that goddamn Twinkie. And if it's driving on a country road, then fuck it, drive. If it's listening to a Prince song, then listen to Prince. If it's Beethoven's concert, like do whatever, find out what the hell that is. and
Mm-hmm.
then milk that shit.
Now, this is a slippery slope because this can easily be misconstrued because the line between authenticity and denial is razor thin on this one. The idea of I'm going to fake it till I make it, or I'll eat Twinkies to feel the feels, or whatever it may be. This can easily lead into an addictive behavior versus the authenticity of loving thyself in the present. And it's a thin line there where people will very quickly go, well, Asa said eat some Twinkies and then go drive. And they're like, well, hold on a second. He's not saying that. He's saying, like, be present in the present to find your feels and your authenticity of joy. Do you see in the moment where happiness presides? And I've done trainings, a lot of trainings that go against the concept of happiness itself to know how do I even practice? Because today's memes fuck it all up, and it's real easy to misconstrue what you just said because I'll create an intention that's not what you meant and then do an action that counteracts true happiness because you were like, no, fuck it. Be present right now. Stop getting in your own way. And they're like, don't be in my way. And I want the whole box of Twinkies. Asa
You don't
said,
want the whole
fuck it.
box of Twinkies.
Oh, yes,
Because
I
if
do.
you
It'll
let
be
me, because
happy in
the
the
reason why I
happiness.
say the reason why I say that is because if you do any of those things that I just stated in a mindful way, you're never going to consume the whole box. If you are sitting, lying in a restful space, feeling what it feels like to have feet, feeling the sensation of your ankles, remembering what your shoulders actually feel like, not anything on them, but just the sensation of having shoulders. And you are in tune and in touch with your body and all of its beingness to the point that you can feel the blood rushing through your veins. And you are grateful in that moment. And then you bite into that Twinkie and you are feeling the sensation of that creamy center and that sponge-like consistency, and you are allowing it to dissolve in your mouth and nourish you and bring you joy in that moment. If you operate and eat that Twinkie in that way, in a mindful way, what you're not about to do is eat the whole motherfucking box. You're just not gonna do it.
This is, I think, where people get confused because if I've just history has shown when I work with people, usually they're not in a heightened gratitude state of presence in the present. People who have anxiety, people who have depression, people who are suicidal, people who have identity issues, people who are fighting societal pressures, people have so many things put on them that their presence in the presence may generate some form of belief of self-hatred and not gratitude. And so sometimes if they sit in silence, it reveals the negativity of themselves to themselves, which makes them feel far worse. So what steps do we need? Because I want to have that presence in the present, that mindfulness, the gratitude mindset of even appreciating myself. There's just too many butts in the way. And it's not the 2 T butts I like. It's the 1 T butts. It's the ones where, like, I want to feel that butt. I hate myself. I want to feel that butt. I'm not good enough. And I want to feel that butt. My parents said I'm fucking worthless. I want to feel that butt. And there's a butt in the way. Well, what do we do about all these butts? Because, like, some of these people live in a Sir Mix-a-Lot video when it comes to the butts in their life.
That was great, by the way. That was so fucking awesome. What I will ask that person to consider is to shut the fuck up. Just like that. I have told my clients.
I love that. Would you please consider shutting the fuck up?
And I mean that. I have told my clients all types of things, including, and I preface it well, so I'm not harsh about my delivery because it is about the delivery. And I set it up and I'm like, so here's the thing. I just need you to be quiet. I would like for you to be quiet for a moment. And I want you to know that I love you. There's so much love for you here. And I really do need you to shut the fuck up. Well, Asa, here's the thing. You are believing the story you tell yourself about you. And you are coming from a place that does not serve you. So when you shut the fuck up, you are able to be quiet and listen to the bigger part of God, remind the little part of God, about how God-like they are. That's why I need you to shut the fuck up. It's not because I need to control you. I'm asking you that when you are quiet, you can get clear because you are able to create capacity to hear from the divine in all types of ways.
I got a bad word for you here. A word that
Okay.
really messes that whole thing up. I got a bad word. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Truth. You're believing the story that people tell about you. You're believing the story that's said, like, I believe that story about me. But like, well, is that true? Or is that just somebody's perspective of the thing? Because truth now becomes point of view. Truth becomes opinion. Truth becomes sales pitch. Instead of like, well, is that or isn't that? And it goes like, well, I think you're bad. Well, that's an opinion. That's a judgment. That's a shameful place of like, here's what I think you are. It's like, well, is it true? Because we have to get into like, well, is it bad? Is it not bad? Is it right or is it wrong? Subjective points of view now create realities because we don't know otherwise to challenge truth itself. And the one thing I've learned in working with people directly in their deepest, darkest hurts is everybody is lying, especially to themselves. The persona that I project, the way that I try to carry myself in a way that's inauthentic to be approved of, the masks that hide the things that I omit about myself so you don't know and you can't hurt me, the things that I try to make it so I look something different than I really am so you like me more. The fake personas, it could be the outfits, it could be the makeup, it could be the posture, it could be the swagger, it could be whatever it is to make it so I am something different than I am so you like me better. And this is truth. Maybe. What are you trying to be so that you become what they like? And then this is our reality. That's the story that I live by is I am the cool guy because everyone likes me because I'm the best drinker. I'm the coolest basketball player. I'm the best whatever artist. You name it. Now, because I do that, I have to live up to some sort of look or some sort of image or some sort of persona. And that makes me liked, but does it make you authentic? And if you start having imposter syndrome, it's because you're trying to be what they say you're allowed to be because it fucking works. They like it when you are what they say you should be. This is a really tricky part of today, is I want to be authentic, but what if they don't like me? What if I get kicked out of my social circles? What if they reject me when I go, I'm not like that? Now we're in a complication. Now we're in a weird thing. We're in a weird place right now.
So if you think that being authentic will not make you an orphan, you are fucking crazy.
Say it again. Say it again. I don't think people get it. Say it again. Say it again. I don't think they get it.
If you think that being authentic will not make you a societal orphan, you are fucking crazy. You are fucking nuts.
Let's go into judgment. Asa, is that good or bad? That sounds bad.
No,
Being an
so
orphan sounds bad. What is it?
when I was going through it, it felt fucking despicable. It felt horrible. It felt as though I was drowning while still being alive, and breathing. It felt, it sounded like, bones being crushed by a train. Like those perceptions of being societally ostracized, societally orphaned was all those things. But I get to breathe on this side. I get to smile with all teeth on this side. I can sustain this on this side.
Would you say that you found a freedom in being orphaned?
But that almost sounds cliche to say I found freedom in being orphaned. It almost
Cliche
sounds
as hell.
cliche.
It's a
However,
judgment for sure.
there's not a better fucking term. Because I love the term. Because it works, but it does. It sounds cliche, but it's true. For me.
It's kind of nice when truth gets to be cliche because at least it's like, well, it makes sense though.
But it makes sense because it's real. And let me add more context, please. Because I could be saying all these different things, and somebody like, well, he read a book. I mean, I do read. Like, let me be very clear. I've been reading very well since kindergarten. I was the Book It Pizza Hut king. For sure. I had a personal pan pizza every week, baby. So what do I mean? I mean that when I started in the industry of what it means to transform people's businesses and their lives, and that looks like the coaching and consulting space, even the self-help space. Since 2012, at that time, I was still very much in the space of being a church kid, even though I was, 30, 29, 30. And being a church kid, meaning both my parents were pastors at the time, being brought up Church of God in Christ, which is, for those of you who don't know much about African-American denominations in the Christian tradition, it means basically, if you want to know about a Black church that is very akin to being Amish, that's Church of God in Christ. I grew up in that, to the point that my parents could not go to prom because the pastor said no. My father could not wear shorts coaching me in t-ball. My mother could not wear red lipstick, red fingernail polish, any of those things. The mothers of the church would do a split check at the door of every woman who came into the sanctuary, meaning if your split in the back of your skirt was so many inches, they would hem your split before you walked into service. And if one got away, they would literally tap you on your shoulder, bring you to the back and hem it then. That's what I grew up in. So when I'm identifying as that, and then I have this whole military thing, because by that time I had become an officer, had switched from being enlisted to being an officer. But I had written a book, I had written 2 books by then. I had started in the space. At that time, I had already had a large daycare center, a janitorial company, as well as a retail store in one of the shopping malls in Oklahoma City. Like, having all those different things, I was put into a box. And let me be very clear, I willingly went there. They didn't just snatch me. It wasn't a soul snatching situation. I conspired with them to make that happen. So when I realized who I was, and the catalyst for that was I had started to come out as far as identifying as queer. And when I did that, I was having clients and I was asking for testimonials, and they were telling me they did not feel comfortable giving me a testimonial. And now when I asked them why, they said because their church people were connected to me as well, and they wouldn't understand them having worked with me. And I became disillusioned with everything and said, fuck it. I'm going to create a brand that's so queer identified that if you work with me, everybody knows, including you. Like, I don't need a testimonial at all. And so it started that way, and then it blossomed into a lot of different other ways. And so that looked horrible. Now, when I finally did come out truly, at that time, I was getting booked on stages to very large conferences. I was in all these virtual summits. I was doing well, and it felt good. And I was being appreciated. And you could tell that I was rising. And the moment I did it, it stopped. All phone calls stopped. All speaking requests stopped. All invitations to come to conferences stopped. A lot of client desires to work with me stopped. Everything just, you could tell. I didn't make this shit up. It was real. And I completely felt professionally orphaned in that way, to the point that someone said, Asa, you need to, a very good branding person came to me and said, I would like to have a conversation with you. And I trusted her and she had worked for Coca-Cola, did their branding, a bunch of other large companies. And she's like, Asa, you coming out like this is not going to serve you. You're going to get cyber attacks to your website. And she just did this whole fear-mongering thing around me choosing me. And I'm glad that I did not listen. I heard her, but I did not do anything that she asked me to do. And as a result of me doing that, I was able to get into Forbes when no one was talking to me, when no one was inviting me to their platforms. Out of nowhere, here comes Forbes that I didn't have to pay for, mind you. And what did they do? They wanted to do an article on Black queer entrepreneurs. And that's how I got into Forbes. So the very thing that you could be scared of not working out, the world won't get it, the family won't understand, is the very thing that's keeping you from being exactly who you think you should be.
There's a lot of pieces in the story, which is ironic. I'm going to do a weird takeaway here. I put stories together in an interesting way. It started off with you in a place of God, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the church that tells you how you're supposed to be and should be and can't dress and can dress and allowed to live and not live. And you went against the God element from that side of the religion sphere to say, I will be true, I will be honest with myself, and I will be what I am, just to have people of God say, you are bad. You don't, we can't be associated with you. You are wrong. And you said, I hear you. I hear you. And then you'll have another person who comes in who should be a trusted resource, somebody who is a confidant, somebody who's like, you know, you were in my corner, you know, do you believe in me? Like, I believe in you, but you're like, oh, there's a but to this. There's a but.
Yeah.
In order for you to be liked, you need to lie. Like, interesting. Why would I do that? Well, if you lie to be liked, then people will hire you again and people will support you again. And you can come back and people will be okay with who you are as long as you lie to be liked. And if you don't, they won't like you. If you don't, you won't be a part of it. If you won't, your business will fail. So you have to lie to be liked, and then you'll be good again. Then you'll be good again. And you're like, I don't think that feels right. I don't know if I need to compromise myself for the judgments that people say God has to be what I am. I don't know if I need to lie about what I am to be liked by people who say their opinions are really important. Maybe I'm going to go into being what I am. And then now, like, this is where, again, thank actual God. You're in a time where being a Black queer entrepreneur will be celebrated, where this would not be celebrated any time ever from like even 10, 15 years ago before in history. This was never a celebrated that you would be not in Forbes. You'd be in chains. Like, this is not good. And so this is one of those things where, like, is it really God who's in the middle of judgment and shame and guilt and blame? Is it really God who is behind you need to lie to be liked? Is it really God? Or is it really God going, the time when you had the courage to be what you are is when we celebrate what you are, as though God didn't fuck up? I don't know.
So you bring up a good point. Lie to be liked. I definitely felt that I needed to lie to be liked. From that story, from that experience, most definitely. Even to, creating a podcast. My first podcast was called the Entrequeer Show. My desire was to highlight queer people in the entrepreneur space. And remember, I told you I created a brand. I was like, I'm going to make this shit so queer, you can't even deny it. So I'm doing the Entrepreneur Show, and a friend of mine, a business friend, he like, we have an agency and we can support you with your show. And I was like, I think you're full of shit. And he's like, why would you say that, Asa? I said, you don't get it yet. You're from Canada. This gentleman was in Canada. I said, you're in Canada and you have a very, not saying all Canadians are like this, but you still have a very non-American reality that people could not like you for who you are. But he was like, Asa, everyone loves you. I said, why do you think that? That's not real. Do I desire them to? Of course. Is that a reality? No, but it's also a reality that I don't put a lot of weight in. Like I get it. It's fine. Everybody doesn't like, everything. So he was like, but we can
Well,
do your.
people don't like what we don't understand, though. And this is where, like, even when Reese was on and Reese was explaining, like, what's the Q mean? I like, look at me. I'm a fucking barbarian, and I'm like, I don't know what it means. Like LGBT. I'm like, I get the idea. I don't know why T is clumped in with the LGB, because that's sexual preference and this is social identity. So I don't understand why those are together, but okay. But what's a Q mean? Because, like, I don't know what a Q means. So I can't even say, like, that's good, that's bad. I don't even know what it is. What's the Q even mean? Because I keep getting different answers.
And all of it, really, like all of it is nothing more than, well, not nothing more. All of it is we are all being fucked with. So how about we all stick together?
Yeah, who's fucking with us? Who's doing it?
Yeah. And if they fuck with you, they're probably fucking with you the way they're fucking with me. And they're probably fucking with you too over there, where they're fucking with me.
Well,
So how about we just come together?
What are the tools of fucking with people? I've been doing a lot of like psychology talks on this. Do you know what the tools are to fuck with each other?
Well, I have to put number one. There are so many tools.
Let's see. Let's throw some on the table. Let's raise some awareness to people of, like, watch out for these tools. What are some that you see?
To be fucked with, of course, there are just those very dangerous. When I say dangerous, meaning an action that poses a lethal threat, something that could take your life. So that's what I mean by dangerous. I'm very clear about that. But there are also things that can be considered microaggressions, but not necessarily microaggressions. So when someone is fucking with you, I don't care if you're in the queer community. I don't care if you're a particular race. I don't care if you're a particular sex. All of us could be fucked with in a certain way. And at the root of it, it's someone who doesn't recognize your value. That's just at the root, at the fucking root. Someone who does not recognize your value.
How do I know how do I even use
it doesn't feel loving.
Of, like, value?
It doesn't feel fucking loving. How do I know what
value is? Like, how do I know your value? How do you know my value? What do I use to
so my thing is, if you're not going, nope, I won't say that. Your ability to see someone's value has everything to do with how you see God. And then not only how you see God, even means. If you see God as authoritative, as selective, if you see God as exclusive, adding exclusivity, if you see God as a sectioning off, if you see God as a divider, if you see God as a terrorist, if you can see God as a societal terrorist, one that is meant to destroy rather than bring together, then I will say, then it is highly likely you don't value people or certain people. And that's not the God that I align with. That is not the God I align with at all.
I'm gonna read them back and tell me what these have in common. God's he's authoritative. God's selective. God plays favorites. God's a divider. God's a terrorist. God destroys. God separates. What am I doing?
Number one, that sounds like every Abrahamic tradition.
What am I doing, though? What am I doing in these sentences? God is what? God is that. God's this. God's that. Well, God, you're this. You're that. What am I doing?
What it feels like you're doing is you're confining the divine.
How, though? What's the tool I'm using to do this? Like, Asa, you're good, you're bad, you're right, you're wrong, you're a separator, you're a creator, you're a divider.
It doesn't have to be such a duality.
What am I doing, though? What's
What
the
you're now,
action that I'm doing?
what the action that you're doing,
Mhm.
I'm not sure on.
It's
Because that's,
judgment.
to me, well, if yes, it's a judgment. I get that.
I'm judgment. This is the tool, though. If you look at every single one of these things, I believe you are as a judgment. These are just
Oh,
opinions, each one of these
gotcha.
things. And
That makes
this
sense.
is one of the tools of destruction right now, is to say
Mm-hmm.
you are good, you are bad, you are right, you are wrong, you're authoritative, you're a separator, you're cool, you're not cool. These are judgments. These are just opinions. And so
Yes.
this is the tool right
Yes.
now that is used to make you feel like I want you to feel, because I'm giving you my opinion of how you should feel. This applies
And
then
yeah.
blame. It's all your fault that's this way, and you did this, and you did that, and you're bad, and you're this. And then it goes into shame. You should be sorry. You should feel this way. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be like this because you are bad if you do this. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad. You're bad for being different. You're bad for being creative. You're bad for being unique. You're bad for being authentic. You're bad. Now you should have shame. And these tools of blame, shame, judgment are how I make it so
Mm-hmm.
you stay confined to what I believe you should be, regardless of one single fucking fact. I don't even need one. Just be what I think you should be.
And I would have a lot of stake in what someone believed about me if they said those things to me, if I did not feel worthy.
Correct. But how do we
So,
measure our worth? What's our worth?
so I'm
How do I know?
actually writing a book about
Mm-hmm.
that right now. It's called Focused and Worthy, because I don't believe that there are
I got
any
a
other
hard question for
things.
you.
I don't believe there's anything else that separates you from what you desire besides those two things, being focused and
I
feeling
love it.
worthy.
Where
And
does your worth
so
come from?
sometimes you gotta borrow that shit.
Okay. So I got to borrow the worth.
Seriously, there's in those times when I did not feel like the ASA that is in front of you today, how I am showing up. I don't always. I know this ASA is not always has not always been this. Now, is this consistent for me right now? Is this a show? Well, it's easy to say it's not a show when you're on a show, but it's not a show. I am like this all the time. If you come over and I make you pancakes, number one, if you come over and I make you pancakes or sugar rice, I love the fuck out you. But this is how I am all the time. And so I had to borrow people's worthiness of me. So there have been times I had to call a friend or a family member and be reminded that I don't have to believe the bullshit I feel about myself today.
Mm.
Now, sometimes people don't always have that. There are individuals in this world right now that don't have anybody to call, text, DM, meet. They don't. But that's why you would, if you desire to, you would go to YouTube and, listen to Abraham Hicks, Neville Goddard, Michael Bernard Beckwith, Lisa Nichols. Like, there are individuals out in the world that you could borrow your worthiness in the moment. It's just like welfare. There is worthiness welfare. And I just made that shit up, so I'm going to write that down. When I say worthiness welfare, the same way that welfare, food stamps, EBTs are real, like sometimes you just need help. Now, I am not here to politicize welfare. That's not the point. I'm only here to use it as an understanding. Sometimes you need help to eat. You, for one reason or another, you don't have enough to eat. And eating is important. And sometimes you don't have enough to feel worthy. And you are looking to supplement that worthiness through someone else's belief in you. And that just needs to happen sometimes, and that's okay. But are you focused enough on your desire to feel worthy that you go after, in search of, and acquire that welfare of worthiness rather than sitting in your desperation and your level of pissosity?
But if I'm in desperation and that toxicity and this part of me that's
Mhm.
locked down and I don't know if I can, and I even need to have like, where can I find it? Wouldn't this be more of a starving for hope?
I don't think you're starving for hope. I think you have a twinkling of hope, but your hope cannot be magnified based on your worthiness level.
Really?
Because
Maybe.
some of us don't even feel worthy of hope.
Which means you're
Who
hopeless. And so how much worth
right,
do you have if you're hopeless?
right. But a lot of times when you're in that space, this
hmm
conversation that you and I are having right now, that's not even in our field. We're not even here. We're not even
Right?
spending the time to be on this show.
You
When
can't even listen.
you can't even listen. You couldn't even have made it to this time stamp in the show.
So we need hope.
You couldn't.
We need hope. Before I can even consider a worthiness welfare, I have to have at least some inkling of hope that it's worth having.
Can you
There's a
be?
reason that I can even accept the worthiness welfare. There has to be at least something worth fighting for, a thing that
There
I
has to
believe
be.
that I have hope. And this is why you see a lot of these concepts of hope is the core. We have to have at least, is there any reason to exist? Is there any reason to fight for your worthiness? Is there any reason to pursue a dream? Is there any reason to change a belief? Is there any reason? It's like, well, it's because I have to at least have a concept of hope that it's better.
And maybe you don't have a concept. You just have the feeling. Because I get that sometimes you're not even able to articulate hope or the lack thereof.
For sure.
And in those moments, like just grab onto that little iota of hope. Just grab onto that shit. Just hold that shit like it's Wilson in that movie. Like, don't let Wilson
hmm
go. Don't let Wilson go. Just keep on. Just keep on. I think that the movie Inside Out, if for those of you who have seen the Pixar movie Inside Out, I forgot which emotion. Joy. Yeah. There has to be at least one speck of joy. One, and I'm using that um, intertwined with or in place of hope as well. So if you can just have a little iota of it, and a lot of times that comes because you have a dream that you just haven't lost, and you get reminded of that dream, or you get reminded of your divinity. Um, but yeah, hope is completely important, and I hope that you find yours, or that you don't allow yours to be extinguished in totality.
Well, we have to give it away.
You do.
People
You
don't
do.
take it. We have to give it. We have to agree that they can have it.
Very accurate. However, I can hear someone saying, well, Asa, that happened to
hmm
me when I was 9 and it was
Correct.
taken from me. Here it is.
hmm
You owe that 9-year-old to get the fuck up.
And you can take it back
Cause
now.
you're not 9 anymore. You have
hmm
all power. You have autonomy and the ability. And if you have the motor skills and the acumen to turn on a fucking phone that has Wi-Fi and get on a show with Rick Yee, I'm telling you right the hell now, you have all skills, everything that's needed to change your fucking life around.
You do. It's true. If anybody's made it this far in this show, that means they listen to what we do. And they're like,
Yeah.
did you notice that hope is everywhere? Did you notice that happiness is all
Mm-mm.
around you? Did you notice that dreams are around you? Did you notice that purpose is all around you? Did you notice that the journey is any given steps that you take in any direction? Did you notice? And most people don't even know awareness is a skill to practice, let alone
Isn't
which
it
things to
though?
even work at. It is. It's the
Oh
number
my
one skill
God.
we practice in the warrior's way. It's like, did you
Oh,
see it? You can't make a choice you don't know exists.
I need you to do a whole thing about awareness.
I do.
I'm
I'm
sure you've already
actually,
done it, but
yeah,
man,
I'm republishing my first book because that chapter needs to be much bigger.
awareness is so everything.
It is everything. It also runs into a pitfall of a glacier because awareness goes into causality, and causality will make you go fucking crazy.
Mm.
Every choice leads to another choice, that leads to another choice, that leads to another
It
choice.
does.
And if I would have skipped that one choice, that would have skipped every single choice I made after that choice. So what if I just didn't go on that date with when I met my wife and I just did something different that night? Or what if I didn't take that job that I did for 10 years? What if I did something different? And what if I would have done, now I'm getting into all the what ifs of the causalities of every single decision seems to lead to the next set of decisions. And holy crap, where have I led myself to with choice after choice after choice? And did I
And
even
that's why,
realize the
yeah.
choices that were there? You'll go
And,
nuts. And
yeah,
that's
and then
everything is awareness.
in a way to not go nuts is to see the value in the journey. See the value in the journey the same way you see the value in the destination. If you
It's
are
the answer,
able,
though. It's the answer. It's not the solution. This is why people get jammed up. And this is why a lot of coaches enjoy talking to me, because I don't deal in the memes. I deal in the actions. I'm like, well, what do you do then? I'm like, the answer is, Asa, I'm on this side of the river, and the answer is be on this side of the river. I know I need to be on the other side of the river, but I don't know how to get to the other side of the river. And they're like, you got to believe in yourself. I'm like, believe in what? A fucking boat? A bridge? What do I got to believe in? Because I don't have the thing to get me there. I'm missing the piece that makes it so it's possible. And
you
people are
do
like,
it
you just got to
now.
believe it there. I'm like, there's a
No.
thing I have to do in between. The in
Okay.
between is where the growth is. And people
I
don't
want to
talk
talk
about that.
about that. Okay. So
Yeah.
you brought up a great uh, visual depiction of everything, whether it's a business, it's a relationship, it's a child, whatever the thing is that's over fucking there, that's not here. There are some things that I would love to offer you for those of you who are still with us that are co-creating this episode with us today. All right. Number one, I would love for you to start with the end in mind. Neville, that's straight from Neville Goddard. Start with the end in mind. What's the goal? What's the plan to be over there? Okay. If you desire to be the fuck over there, what does that feel like? Can you feel the feeling of the wish being fulfilled? I'll say that again. Can you feel the feeling of the wish being fulfilled? Oh, you don't know how? Fuck that. I'll show you how you've been doing it all your life. When you were 16 years old, for those of us of a certain age, because I know in Oklahoma, my son couldn't just get his license at 16, had to go through this bullshit. I'm like, that's crap. But for those of a certain age, depending on the state wherever you are, when you knew that you were going to have your license at 16, when you were 14, you felt it. You started having some ruminations like this shit's about to pop off. When you were 15, you start telling everybody, so look, I turned 16 this date. It's about to go down. When you were 15 and a half, shit got real. A month out, I don't give a fuck if your ass didn't have a car, insurance, a way to get to the Department of Motor Vehicles. I don't care what you didn't have. All you knew was that on your 16th birthday, you were going to have a goddamn license. To the point you were making plans. I'm going to raise my hand. That was me. My birthday's in June. So it was May. We were still in school. I'm talking to my best friend, Andre, and I'm like, Dre, so this is about to happen. So my birthday's on the 2nd. So that means that's like, I think at that year, it might have been like a Thursday. I said, so what's going to happen is I'm going to go get my license and then I'm going to pick you up. And then we're going to a mall because in the early 2000s and the 90s, the mall was a thing. So those of you who are listening and don't know, so imagine if TikTok was in a building. So put all of TikTok in a building. That was the mall. So you didn't hang out on TikTok. You hung out at the mall. And so we're going to the mall, and then we're going to go to Frontier City, which was it was a good amusement park at that time. So I knew all of that. Did I know what car I was taking to the DMV? Nope. Did I have a secured ride to the DMV? No. Had I actually studied yet? No. Had I taken a driver's course yet? No. I hadn't done shit. I hadn't done a goddamn thing, but I knew this. I was gonna have a goddamn car. I mean, a license. I knew what was the car wasn't the dream. The license was the dream. The car and the insurance and the getting there, that was the vehicles to the dream. I didn't care about the how. I knew what the fuck was needed to happen. I needed to have a license, and I was going to have a license. Point blank, period, to the point I dreamt about it. It became really fucking real to the point that I could smell my license. Now, for those of you who are listening, I'm gonna ask you this: Have you ever desired a thing as much as you've ever desired a license and it didn't come? I'm gonna call bullshit if you say yes. Well, I really wanted that. Nope, you didn't. You didn't want it as bad as you wanted that license. You didn't. Now, let's say you wanted that marriage. Did the marriage happen? Yes. I didn't ask you about the divorce. I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you about the cheating, because that goes into a whole nother thing that Rick was just talking about, of being awareness. He or she or they showed you, they asked to you before you married them. You just wanted them and you weren't aware to the bullshit they were showing you. So you got married to them and now you got a divorce because you didn't want what you wanted anymore. But I'm going to tell you right now, you felt the feeling of the wish being fulfilled, and that shit happened.
Point is valid. Point is valid. And the reason also I can agree with you too is, did you really want that? I wanted $1 million, Asa. It's like, I'm sure you wanted to play in the NBA. That's what I wanted. I'm like, if you really wanted that, why'd you quit?
Yeah, you would never quit. You'd still be doing it.
You gave up. You gave up. And, you know, even I laughed even this morning. I've had this call a couple of times. If it's something you truly want, how long does it take to hit a goal? I want to hit a goal. How long does it take to hit a goal?
As long as it fucking takes.
It takes as long as it takes. That's how long the goal is. What's the only thing, what makes it so you didn't hit your goal? There's only one thing I can think of that made you not hit it.
Well, if you know me, I'm going to say two things. You didn't feel focused. I mean, you weren't focused and you didn't feel worthy.
Well, I mean, those resulted in, I quit.
Oh, most definitely.
I didn't feel worthy, or I didn't believe in it. I didn't think I could do it. And so at some point I said, I'm not going for it anymore. And it takes as long as it takes to hit the goal became, I stopped even trying for it. So it's going to never happen. And so if you couldn't feel what it feels like to be able to go like, what does it feel like if I were to have that the feels you're talking about? If you can't put yourself in a mindset of being in that moment, you know, people do this all the time with their goals. I'm going to lose weight so I can wear that outfit again. And you're like, okay, great. Where? To what? To do what? You know, because you'll put the outfit on and be like, I put it on, but I don't want anybody to see me wear it ever again. So I just did it. And then you do what? I go right back to the shit I used to do that made it so I couldn't fit in the outfit in the first place, because I didn't have a purpose for having that outfit on. I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have a thing I was going to do. And if I did have a one special day, like, oh, it's my friend's wedding, so I got to look good in this dress. And then they get to that day and you have the day and you're like, I did it. And then you're like, now what are you doing it for? You're like, well, I did it for the wedding, so I looked good in the photos. And you're like, now that day is done. Now what do you want? And they're like, I don't know. I did it. I did it already. I did it. And they're like, well, now what do you do? I go back to my default program that I never actually changed because I had one specific thing I wanted to do. I did it, and now I go back to what I did.
And based on what you just said, do you feel that purpose is a catalyst for hope?
Purpose being a catalyst for hope. I think it's the other way around.
Okay, so this is why this is why I asked you that. So if you have a purpose, and I'm interchanging purpose and desire. So let's say you have a purpose to wear the dress. But let's say even we do get clear. So the purpose is to wear the dress to the reunion. Okay.
Sure.
So now you have the purpose or the desire. Now the hope comes, or do you have the hope that you can wear the dress? And then, which comes first?
Let's look at it. All right. I hope that I can do this. Well, hope would mean a form of belief that it's possible.
Right.
So hope would equal, in this case, possible to do so. Do I believe that it's possible that I could fit into that dress? This creates a there's a reason. There's a thing that I believe can be done. So hope would then challenge a belief. Now, beliefs are fragile. As much as people live and die by them, they can change in one new piece of information. And so one thing can change your entire belief system immediately. You even mentioned it 10 times in just the conversation we've had. I believe you're awesome to have on my show. Well, I identify as queer. Well, I don't want you on my show anymore. That one new piece of information just changed everything. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
belief system changes immediately, and so
Yeah.
in this one, do I have hope that it's possible that it can be done? This fragile belief that it is, yes, it can be done. It's simple to lose weight? That's simple. Is it easy? Oh, fuck no. It's really hard to do. It's not the same. Simple and easy isn't
Not
the
the
same,
same.
but do I believe it's possible? The belief that it is possible gives me hope. Now, hope leading into the idea of the purpose of it. I think purpose is a really tricky word. It's a very subjective word itself because it gives the meaning for the meaning. And we think that we have to have the why to begin, but oftentimes the why we start with is not the why we finish with. And this is
Exactly.
where the Simon Sinek concept of know thy why before you even go into it gets convoluted because we think it's supposed to never change, but it
Thank you
changes
for
on the journey
saying
anyway.
that.
Yeah, we have to challenge everything. I can't wait to talk to Simon. I'm sure he's already beaten his own shit anyways.
But
And
thank
so,
you for saying that, because I agree.
and so the possibility would have to come before the purpose because I cannot have purpose if I do not believe it's possible. So I still think hope still is a catalyst to purpose because purpose changes as long as you have hope that it can be done.
Purpose does change.
My purpose changed completely.
Yeah, and our whys change, and that's why I give my clients the grace and the space for their whys not to be as ethereal or philanthropic as what other people fucking say. So I've definitely been to those conferences. I go to lots of conferences, and somebody gets up like, you need to write down your why. And they'll ask people to come to the mic or stand up and say that, well, I just want to do it for my grandma. And fuck that. I want a fucking Louis Vuitton bag on my birthday. How about that?
But it's not for grandma. It's again, people will put up what they think people think it's supposed to be for, but they're not being honest.
Right.
And this is really challenging truth is still the bad word. Is it really for grandma? Is it really?
Right.
It's fucking not. Grandma loves you without that shit. She doesn't need
but
you
there,
to do that.
there goes
This
that
is for
lie to be
you.
liked. That lie to
Exactly.
be
So
liked.
here we are. If we don't challenge purpose and don't challenge why, we end up with bullshit, which makes our belief system that it's possible become waning. It's easy to quit when it's bullshit it's built on. It's easy to give up when the excuses can still have enough truth without full truth to still ring true. Oh, well, my grandma got sick and it was all for grandma. I'm like, did you go see your grandma? Well, no, she's in Louisiana. I didn't go see her, but she did get sick and it made me not do it anymore. You're like, well, that didn't actually stop you, but it is true that she got sick. It's one of those things where we create an excuse that has truth to be enough truth to be a qualified lie. Do not challenge my truth because
that was really good.
My truth is the reason why. My why changes to be my perspective. My why changes to be my beliefs that I create. And my beliefs do not require facts or challenge to be true to be a belief. And so I can just make up my shit as I go along. And if you ever say anything against it, let me hit you with the tools. Blame, shame, judgment to let you know how much of a piece of shit you are for noticing the piece of shit I am.
Yeah, because a belief is just a thought you keep thinking.
And I don't even need a fact for it to be true for me. I can live and die by a belief that doesn't require any evidence.
None whatsoever.
None. And so you know who's right? Nobody. We're all fucking lying. We call it the truth because we're better salespeople.
And that's why I do my best not to use truth in my everyday language, my truth in my copy, truth in anything, because everything is truth is truth for you. And so what's true for me is not true for you. And that's okay. That's so okay. because
Maybe.
I'm very clear
But
about facts. I'm very clear about those.
well, facts change too. So the truth, and
They
at this
can.
point, turns into truth is for us simply agreement. Well, I agree with you, so that makes it true. And if we have enough people that agree, then that becomes the fact. I bring up a reference often. Isaac Newton sat under a tree and an apple hit him in the fucking head. And he's like, oh shit, something pulled that apple down and hit me in the head. That must be gravity. Gravity pulls things down. That's how it works. Check it out. I got this pen. I throw the pen up. The pen falls down. What makes it go down? Something pulled it down. It's gravity. Isaac, I don't see any other way it could be. Everything I do keeps going to the ground. So you seem right, bro. That's a fact. I agree. Everything goes to the ground. Something's pulling us down. We're not floating up, so we must be getting pulled down. You're right. And Isaac Newton is right for a long time. Some people's whole life. Isaac Newton had the gravity pulls you down. It is a law. It is a fact. Gravity pulls you down. And then this jackass, what's his Einstein? This Einstein guy comes out of fucking nowhere, and he's like, well, let's math the math on this. So Albert Einstein starts doing math on the physics of gravity. He's like, the math doesn't show we're being pulled down. It shows we're being pushed down. It's the opposite. It's not pulled, it's pushed. The math goes the other way. And so the fact now would be that gravity doesn't pull us down, it pushes us down. And people go, okay, well, let's check the math. Let's check the math. It seems correct. It seems right. I don't see the math that Isaac didn't actually account for these factors that make this now the new truth. Do you agree? I agree. Do you agree? I agree. Do you agree? I agree. It seems like Albert has it correct. So now who's right? Newton wasn't wrong. And Einstein isn't wrong until we get some alien that comes down and goes, you guys aren't even doing the math right. You don't have this equation. You don't have this. You don't have this. And the aliens are like, it's all wrong. It's this and this. And you're like, oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that seems right. So then what's the fact? It seems like one new piece of information can completely change the fact.
Yeah, it changes everything. And that's why I'm grateful for my military background, because we had to get, in briefs on new information all the time. Like the facts changed, the intel changed. It always changes. You can't go into this particular mission using information from even a month ago. You literally cannot. And then to compound on what you said about the truth and the facts and the right and the wrong, first off, love that. And I see the issue being when someone attaches the totality of their belief into their being. So it only becomes an issue because you have identified with that information. So now when that fact or that belief or that truth is challenged, you feel challenged. Rather than allowing some elasticity in your brain space, you become very concrete and fused to your beliefs, so that when someone challenges you, you get all upset, beside yourself, and now everybody is full of shit.
I'm offended, which then goes, my offense triggers me into blame, shame, and judgment. And you're seeing, especially in the world that you're in, when it gets into like the LGBTQ stuff, it's high levels of judgment, high levels of blame and shame, high levels of attack on character and identity, it's especially society's terrible marketing campaign. It's really like it's demonized in other categories, going, these people are bad, these people are this, these people are that. And a majority of the friends that I have, like you and Reese and others, I have really close friends in the community who are like, we think it's all fucking bullshit too. Slow down. These are not even our beliefs. Slow down. Hold on.
And to the point, it's both sides. So what I do not see enough, I see my queer siblings saying a lot of things around truth and facts and belief, around other people and their ideas about us.
Yes.
What I always say and have been saying.
ASA. go in, say what's not supposed to be said, because it gives clarity because people don't understand.
Yeah. And so what I don't see enough of my queer siblings giving the grace and space to other individuals to simply be. No one has to believe us. No one has to jump on our bandwagon. No one has no one has to do this. And this whole searching and judging so many people for not seeing our value is a waste of energy. Now, let me be
Correct.
very clear. When it's about lethal action, taking against people, I'm not talking about that.
Sure.
That's not what this is about.
Danger is different than judgments, for sure.
That's different. Like, bitch, judge me.
Right.
I hope it feels good.
But this is the point of it. And this is where you see people who will be self-righteous. And I'm not picking any side. All sides, every person. Everyone feels self-righteous to be able to judge. That's a black queer entrepreneur. Oh, bad. That's a middle-aged white cis male. I'm like, that's bad. Like, we just make a judgment. We just throw it in the air. That's bad. That's judge. That's a piece of shit. He's a bigot. He's a racist. He hates white people. He hates this. Like, we just make shit up and we go, that's true because I just made up a judgment. But that makes me the good guy, even though I'm using blame, shame, and judgment and offensiveness to cancel, to shut people down. And that makes me the hero in the story. And I'm like, well, wait, let's challenge to see. Does any of the actions you're doing go against the golden rule for yourself? Yeah. Would you like to be canceled for being what you are? Like, no, that's fucking wrong. Well, then don't do that to people. Would you like to be ostracized and shut down for the way you were born? Well, no, that's evil. That's not inclusive. I'm like, maybe you should stop doing that then. Would you like someone to talk behind your back in a way that's really, really hurtful, disrespectful, with intent to not be loved, with intent to do harm? Would you like that gossip and that rumor about you? No, that's a shit move. Then don't do the thing you don't want done. And I think if we start off with not saying the golden rule is the end all be all, but at least a solid baseline of, are you doing stuff you wouldn't like done to you?
I can agree. And there is no such thing as monopolizing offensiveness. Like, you cannot monopolize you just can't, you're not able to do that. Now we're in this whole thing. I feel that right now, not so much about cancel culture, but people think they have a monopolized being offended. And you don't get to do that. And going back to my thoughts on divinity, not my truth about divinity, not my facts about divinity, my thoughts on divinity.
Your belief.
My belief, which are just the thoughts I kept fucking thinking. Do you all not realize that God and the divine is so fucking big that it takes all of us to interject hope and purpose and love into people? Do you realize that I, being Black, from Oklahoma, an entrepreneur, an author, a dad, a veteran, all these different monikers that I've associated with, it takes all of that to reach certain people. And so the cadence in my language, the rhythm, the way I express myself, that's going to reach people. And so, like, wow, even though 50,000 other people have already said it, because ASA said it in this way, I get it. And Rick, being a cis, male, bearded, white, American, warrior-based, he's going to be able to reach people that I could never get a hello from. And we're doing the same thing. I don't, because I will say this, not I will, fuck it, I'm saying it. I don't desire for queer people to queeralize the world. Well, of course, we know about the Kinsey study, the Kinsey Institute that happened in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. We get that about how sexuality is a scale. It's not necessarily just black and white. There are variations of queerness and sexual expression and all those different things. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is when someone identifies as being straight, when someone identifies as being cis, meaning cisgendered, not cisy, cisgendered. You have to understand what these terms mean. Cisgendered, it does not make them a liar. It does not make them a automatic enemy. It does not make them the duality of your existence or your experience. We need all of us. All of us. Like, seriously, it takes fucking all of us to interject hope, and the hope allows for that person right now who cannot get out of fucking bed. And the only reason why they get out of bed is to grab the bottle of whiskey on their dresser so that they can go to the bathroom and then get back in fucking bed. Ask me how I know. But it takes all of us to get that person out of that bed, to put the bottle down just a little bit longer. It takes every single one of us.
Yeah. What about the addiction? The other one. What about the other bottle that people wake up with? The bottle of hate. They wake up and they go right to the bottle of hatred. I hate that. I hate them. They're bad. They're the bad ones. They're the problem. The bottle of hatred, and forgetting completely the piece that you started to begin with. The thing that says like each of us is a piece of God. That's what the soul is we're an extension of God. That's our soul. And the reason that we're able to connect with each other is not because of how we were born or what it is, because inside of all of us is a soul that's made to connect to each other. That's what it is. We're all connected. So I very much agree with you, but we change the rules because we make them up as we go along. Well, because of what you identify as, you are now not a soul I can connect with, or because of the color our skin was when we were born, or the gender we are when we're born. Well, that's why I can't connect with you. We just made that shit up. We just go I'll create a reason to drink hate in the morning. I'll just make it a hate thing. I'll just create it. And then do I require anything to even justify it? No, I can just dehumanize you because I just made that shit up, and that allows me to do genocidal acts because I'm a fucking asshole, but I call myself heroic because I wrote it. Even though I do everything I would hate done to me. Absolutely.
Correct. And I believe that if people simply just read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, they probably calm the fuck down.
Probably they
would. And for those of you who've never read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, the premise of the book is all that shit you keep identifying with. Yeah, you got to stop that. So let me take it, because in the book there was a part that I was like, oh my God, Eckhart said that? He's gonna get fucking canceled. So what he said, one segment of the book is about moms and about parenting. And I think we all know, especially in America, women, dads, humans that have said the following: yeah, I just can't, like, I am a mom. Mostly moms, it's mostly moms, not dads, but there are some few dads out there, but mostly moms. Yeah, I'm a mom and I just can't imagine being anything else. And there's just so, like, why did you not put mom in your bio? Like, isn't that what you are? Like, I can't imagine now that I am that, everything else goes away. That's not real. You made that up. You identified with the moniker of mom because the you that you were, it is not the totality of you. And you may be saying, well, how could you say, I'm stuck saying it.
It may be revealing the belief that they have that my totality is that I am that. It's a very confusing identity because it is designed to be temporary based on a service to another. And it also, and there's so many elements to this. I work with a lot of parents there's so many elements that are contradictory to truth as long as I can convince myself of my own bullshit. This is one of those things I even laughed yesterday about, like, I'm a great mother, I'm a great mother, I'm a great father, I'm a great father. And you go like, well, who do you think's curses that I'm breaking all day long with everybody? Who trained you to be a great mother, great father? Even funnier is, what does it take to be a great mother, great father? How do I become one? Asa, how do I make a child in order to be a father or a mother? How do I do it? Well, we're
Okay,
going
there's many
to
ways
have
to do
some
it.
sex. You're going to have some sex. I'm going to do some sex, and that's going to make children, right? Like,
Turkey baster
aside
at
from,
least.
right. There's going to be some form of, though, there's some form of insertion to create the embryo. So there's,
Yes.
generally speaking, though, procreation for all creatures is generally going to be some sort of sex. Now, that's like me saying I love, like, pick your favorite food at a favorite restaurant. Like, what's your favorite food? Just pick anything.
Oh, my favorite food is paella.
Paella. From where?
Brazil.
Okay, from Brazil. From what place in Brazil? Is there like a
I
this
don't
is the
remember the
restaurant?
name of it, but there's a restaurant on the water, like literally on the like that drive, right next to the water, and on Copacabana Beach. And there's
Cool.
paella that is served there, and it is
Just to say that restaurant. Let's just
yeah.
say that restaurant has this food that is awesome, and I love to go there, and the way they prepare it, and the way that it is created, and all of this. I love it. I could eat this every day, multiple
Every day.
times a day, and it makes me feel good every time I eat it. I love it. And they're like, since you love how the cook makes this, and you love eating from this restaurant, you now should be a farmer. And you're like, well, no, just because I like what you guys cook here doesn't mean I have to farm. Well, liking to have sex because you love having sex doesn't mean you're really good at raising a human being.
Oh dear God, no.
Those don't have anything to do with each other. These are opposite categories. I hope that they stay opposite categories. But me loving to have sex doesn't mean I'm qualified for human development as far as the psychology of the growth and evolution of a child to an adult. Doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. And people will go, well, just because I've had one for a long time makes me great at it. And I'm like, well, who trained you?
Or qualified to make others great at it.
Yeah, well, because I had sex makes me a better person than you because I identify as great mother, great father.
Right.
You're like,
because
well,
you got
who trained
stuck
you?
in a situation you didn't even want to be in.
Right. So here we are now giving ourselves our own trophies based on no qualifications and a system of creation that has nothing to do with the job itself. And I could see myself as nothing more. I could see myself as nothing better than this. How can you not put this in your bio that I love sex enough to make people? That's what needs to be in my bio. And I'm not against it because we got 3 girls here. We raise people. We do our thing. But to say because I have 3 teenage girls, I am qualified to teach the raising of teenage girls. I'll tell you right now, even in the psychology field, it's the fucking craziest job I've ever done. They don't listen to shit. They're teenage girls. They do their own. They run off of an emotional system that doesn't require any understanding of anything, and they're always right, even without a single shred of understanding, evidence, information, or anything. You could just be right because they said so, and then let the emotions flow like waterfalls. Like, it's fine. And so to say, like, well, here's how you raise teenage daughters, I can give them information, but they still choose to make emotional decisions. And this makes me an expert? Fuck no, it doesn't. No, it does
I
not.
dare not.
I'm no more an expert at raising teenage girls as a meteorologist is an expert on being accurate about the weather. Let's just call it what it is. It's like a 50% chance it's going to rain. And if it did, told you. And if it didn't, told you.
Exactly. I am doing my best not to raise my son to the point that he needs more therapy than humanly possible.
There's no way around it. We're fucking our kids up. Every parent out
Yeah,
there, just in case
we
you're
all
wondering,
are. We all are.
Yeah, we all fuck our kids up because we were trained by fucked up people, and that's the reality. We were trained by bad farmers to run a farm. That's what we're doing.
And
they were trained by even worse farmers.
And I have never. Now I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do in the future. I think I know, but I don't know. But I have never added the moniker of great dad, greatest dad, because I think I'm fucking up every day in some way. I don't have a belief that I may fuck up. I am giving myself the grace and the space to have the capacity that, you know what, I'm going to get some feedback one day about today. And it
Mhm.
has impacted him in a way that I don't even understand how it's impacted him. The best that I
Correct.
know how to do is to ask him every so often is Adonis, because that's his name. Adonis, how can I be a better dad to you now? Because he's
That's
growing
it.
and he'll be 18 in March. And I just don't know if I'm still treating him like a 14-year-old, even though he's about to be 18.
Mhm. I think that's a really it's an important thing to put out there. The best moms and the worst moms, the best dads and the worst dads seem to have something in common. The ones who say they're the best have the most fucked up kids. And the ones who say I don't know if I'm doing this all right seem to be trying to do better.
Every
Because
day.
they're like, I'm humble enough to know that I don't have everything correct, which leaves room for growth and a humility of being able to accept new information to change. And I say change in a way of evolve. I will evolve to be a better parent because I can at least be humble enough to know I'm not perfect already at it. Now, the people who are
Mm.
like, I'm the best, I'm already awesome, I have 2 kids, this makes me the best. It's like, let's check your kids because this one's an addict and this one's a dropout and this one's not doing well and this one's in depression
Yeah.
and this one's on a lot of medication, but you're the best because you had a lot of sex. I don't know if that's the qualifying thing that you give yourself a trophy for. In which case,
Mm-mm.
the parents who are like, I am so worried I'm going to fuck this up. I am so in my own head over, am I doing this right or not? I don't know. I don't know. Seem to be the ones who care the most about being better and not, I don't need to improve. I'm already great. So
Yeah. I don't,
shout
yeah, I
out.
don't,
Shout out to the humble parents. Shout out to the ones like, I'm pretty sure I'm fucking it up, but I'm open to do it
yeah.
better.
I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not.
No,
God, I
we are.
hope.
No, we did. You already did it. I already did it
Well,
too. We
not to
already
the
did it.
extent, or I will say this. I hope I'm not fucking him up to the extent that he becomes a container of rage in someone else's life.
It may be part of the story that needs to happen so he can reveal him to himself, though. And so we all have curses that need to be broken. And that's
Yeah.
the craziness of ourselves is I'm going to do it different than my parents did it. But that
Mm-hmm.
just gives new curses for my kids to break that I may have broken my parents' curses, but now I created a new one that went the
I
other
get
way
that.
that now my kid has to break. And so the training would
I get
have to be
that.
more in the conversations like this of the awareness of my own battles makes me a warrior. And it's not about blame, shame, and judgment, which are the tools of destruction for today, for you and for me and for our children, that they do not have the defenses against to know their defined self. They do not have the defenses to understand my identity is defined by beliefs that I hold true, not what some other tells me it is. There's a system here in place that needs to be challenged, that isn't challenged, and here we are living our life blame, shame, and judgment filled to make beliefs that we are what you say I am and what I'm allowed to be, thus making me a great person, a great parent, and a great whatever. And we challenge
Mm-hmm.
nothing, just believe and live our lives as an imposter syndrome system of lies. And that's my truth. We're all bullshit, man. This is where it's okay to be bullshit because it makes us so we're humble enough to listen to each other again. We're humble enough to go, I don't really understand it. And that's why I want to know more about you. I don't
And so
get it
my
yet, but I want
so
to.
my question to you then, because you've used that
Mhm.
word about 7 times so far, what is your definition of humble?
I feel like my personal subjective definition of humble is to be able to have the ability to change your mind. And I think there's an aspect
Oh.
of this where being able to say, this is a Marcus Aurelius, where even at the height when he was the king of Rome, and he was able
Mm-hmm.
to say, if you give me new information and a better way to do it, I reserve the right to change my mind. Just because I'm king or authority doesn't mean that I am the king of authority for knowing everything. Even the
Right.
Socratic idea of I know nothing, if everything there is to know, know barely 1% of it all. So I know nothing. And so I have to be humble enough to, even if I'm an expert in the field, out of all there is to know, I know nothing compared to how much there is to know. And so in all relativity to this, if you can give me a new and better way or a new point of view or new information, just like Newton to Einstein, I reserve the right to change my mind. And so that takes a level of humility to go, I'm not always right, but I'd like to be more informed so I can make better decisions, because at the end of the whole entire system of humility and growth and love and connection, there's always a choice. It's always a choice. How am I going to handle this? How am I going to choose to handle these situations? How am I going to choose to interact with you? Do I choose to create gossip, rumors, tear you down, judge, blame, and shame? Or do I choose to accept and love and be open and want to learn more and see your point of view and see if I can understand more perspectives and then grow in my own understanding of not only you, but myself? Do I reserve the right to do that? Or am I still stuck concrete in an identity that I have formed that, if ever challenged, will reveal that I am absolute fucking bullshit? And if you ever reveal that, that will feel bad. And to feel not bad, I will use my defensive triggers of control to make sure you never get close enough to actually reveal my authenticity, because I will be exiled, I will be orphaned, and I will not be loved. In which case, I will control the narrative, I will control the speech, I will control what you're allowed to know, I will omit information that reveals me to you, so that way I am in control of all things, and I call this my love, my truth, my reality. It's all nonsense, man. So my version of humility is not falling into those traps that I control everything, I'm the center of everything, and I am the end all be all. The reality is I know less than nothing, and I reserve the right to change my mind.
And
that's the short answer.
I dig the answer, and I'm so glad that I asked it, because what I felt from me is that a judgment was creeping in my brain about the way you were using it. And I was like, wait a minute, Asa, you don't know how he's defining it, because I'm extremely literal. And has been a issue as a single person in this world who dates pretty people, because that's the best way that I can tell people what a pansexual is. I date pretty people.
Is that because pretty people don't like clarity?
Well, I say that because sarcasm. I don't understand sarcasm at all.
You do.
And so I do, but I don't.
You use sarcasm multiple times in this
but I don't,
conversation.
But in a conversation, I don't get it all the time. So when if there's an issue with me and someone says, well, thank you, I will respond by saying, you're welcome. Not because I'm trying to be an asshole, but because you said thank you. The words that came out of your mouth are words that I believe. Like, I actually believed you. I believe the words that you say. So I get it, because of course I love, shows like Frasier and Seinfeld and Golden Girls, and they were highly sarcastic. So yes, I get it, but in everyday occurrences, especially when it's not as lighthearted as this is, I tend to not get it. And so I say that to say, around humility, I take the word humble and humility for its Webster definition, not as your definition, to the point that I even wrote a book called Fuck Humble. And yes, that is the real book. It wasn't F***! No, it was Fuck Humble. Because someone asked me on a podcast, how am I so humble? And I was like, well, actually, I'm not. And I don't subscribe to the definition of what I read that it was. And so that's why I asked you.
No, if you wrote a book on this, I would like to know your definition of humble.
I just took it from the definition from Webster's or Merriam, whatever. Being
I don't agree with most of Webster's dictionary words.
Understood.
I also challenge words that are incorrect in Webster's dictionary. Actually, you know who Alan Watts is? You'll enjoy this. You know Alan Watts.
Know who Alan. He was the Alan Watts. Yes.
He's the Jordan Peterson of that time. He was just way ahead of
Yeah.
his time for people to get what he was fucking doing. He was a brilliant man. And
Yes.
I always love the concept of how limited we are by being literal. Well, how limited we are by just words. That's how we communicate. How do I communicate love? I'm going to try and use a limited version of communication like words to be able to articulate an emotion that is not really easy to articulate with words. And so we have a
Okay.
very limited communication system of vocabulary, which has become more and more limited as we've gone along. People use less and less words, or they change the words that don't even make sense, like no cap. Like, that's not what that means, but okay, we just made it mean that. We all
We
agreed this
did. We
word now
did.
means.
We
We just
did.
change words because I got like 10 things. There's a cap on this. You got a cap on your head. There's
Yeah.
Captain America. Like, cap means a lot of things, right? So we just make up words. It also means lie or no, don't lie. And so we just made it up. So how do I use words? Well, I'll use the dictionary, Webster's dictionary, and I'll have other words that we agree on what those words mean. So I can use those words to explain what this word means. So we're just using words that we made up the meaning to explain the meaning of another word, which can be very, very, very tricky to do. We fuck it all up all the damn time because we just make up what does the mean? What does there mean? What does we mean? What does you mean? We just make up what the sounds mean. And then we take those sounds that we had to explain what they mean with other words to explain other words. And you're like, no wonder we fuck this all up. So I'm happy to be literal. I'm happy to get into where well, let's get into semantics. Why? Because terms that we throw around willy fucking nilly aren't in Webster's dictionary, like leadership, like love, like happiness, like respect, like humility. We have these terms that we throw around, and I've done this in multiple trainings where I tell people, please, like I know nothing, tell me what the word means. And I watch people who have a very solid grasp scratch their fucking head. Like, do you want me to respect you? And you're like, absolutely. It is critical to our relationship that you respect me. I'm like, awesome. What is it? And you're like, well, respect is when what you do with respect is how you it's well when I am the way that I want to be treated. Well, don't and I'm like, yeah, you had that shit fucking solid until you had to tell me what it was. And I have experts get stumped on, please tell me what respect is. Even the Webster's dictionary of respect is fucked. You want to hear something funny? I don't know you can even find it. Under the pseudonym of barbarian philosopher, I put the definition of respect in Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
I put my own in there because I broke down the actual what does respect mean in way better way
Oh,
than
you
Webster
just
ever could.
submitted your own?
Yeah, oh for sure.
Oh.
I'm on Urban Dictionary under barbarian philosopher. That's my pseudonym. So it's just a funny thing. If you ever find it, fucking good on you. But I broke it down better than any definition I ever found. We use the word incorrectly commonly. What is happiness? If you go at Arthur C. Brooks, Harvard professor, I can't wait to talk to the guy. I've got his fucking book. And he gets into happiness, which is a subjective terminology for what makes you happy, is not the same as what makes me happy, which makes it subjective. Well, he said the answer is going to be not only get into Harvard, which is easy, and then be the first one to sign up for the class that sells out quickly, easier. So get into Harvard, piece of cake, and then go ahead and get into his class right away. And then he'll teach you the pieces of happiness goes into enjoyment, satisfaction, and purpose. And I said, that's awesome. That's really cool. I'm pretty sure that enjoyment, satisfaction, and purpose are also subjective words.
Of course.
So now the definition for one subjective word is adding 3 more of them, and you got to get into Harvard to even get through the class of subjectivity. Which is crazy because I know a ton of happy people who never went to Harvard.
Of course. Yes.
So it's like, I don't think that's the definition, you guys. We're using these words. And so when you say I take things very literally, I am right there with you. What the fuck are you talking about? So I can be in the same page with you. Let's go.
And I am on the other side of the literal. So what I mean by I am on the other side of the literal, I am not a wordsmith. I am a word lover. So
That's
Yeah, I'm a word.
wordsmithing. That's wordsmithing right
It
there.
is it itself is wordsmithing, but I have been in the presence of wordsmiths. One that comes to mind is a man by the name of Michael Eric Dyson, and he is a wordsmith. And I'm just like dumb, like I'm just sitting there like, oh, what? How the fuck did he put that and that together? And so that's why I say I'm a word lover. And I say that because my friends often quote me. This is one quote they always quote me on. Well, ASA always says words mean things.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times I'll ask someone about something and they'll say it. And then a month or two or a year or two down the road, I'll say, well, you said that. Well, I didn't mean that. I'm saying, no, 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 no. You meant that shit because words mean things. And I love words. And so when you're talking about love and happiness, so when I am in a relationship or a relationship romantic or relationship familiar, I'm saying I'm doing my best daily to use a multitude of words to convey an emotion or thought better than I've done before. And so I am not someone in life that just tells someone I love you. I am someone who says, today I wanted you to know that I am enthralled by the essence of who you are. I am enamored by your smell. Like I'm not
Well, these
using
are.
words like love to be blanketed statements and scapegoats. I don't use those terms. Yeah, I don't use them as scapegoats because I want to know. Because even when I am looking, looking at new friend possibilities, new partner possibilities, I'm asking things like, so what does love mean to you? Like, what is your relationship with love? Do you feel like love is hard? Do you feel love is effervescent? Do you feel like love takes work? Like, what is your relationship with love? What is your definition of masculinity? Because, I have
I'd
white
like to
fingernail
know. Yeah,
polish.
I keep getting weird ones. I'd like to hear what it is.
So
This
it
does
just
feel though.
depends.
It feels like wordsmithing though. It feels like wordsmithing to me still. These are brilliant
Okay.
ways to approach simple concepts, and so I don't want to take away from the skill that you're actually portraying here by calling it something less. No, this is challenging words. This is challenging meetings. It's challenging understanding, but it's done with compassion and seeking to understand. And I do
Yes.
believe what you're doing is the same as what I'm doing, and I'm interested because it's interesting and not because I'm judging. I don't
Yeah.
want to know so I can hurt you. I want to know so I can know and appreciate you. It doesn't mean we have to agree, but it just, at least I know where you're coming from. And
But do
this
you know
makes
that you
us
do a really
good.
good job at that?
Yeah, that's why I do what I do.
But do you also know, okay, not you, not you. This is more for the listener.
Let's give it to him.
So, Rick, I feel you do a great job listening to understand and listening to like have bounce ideas off. And, and this, I'm going somewhere totally different with this. As someone who is empathic, and I have been empathic my entire life, to the point that I was in my 20s before I saw Thriller, yes, the music video, in its entirety because it fucked with my essence. Um, and so being empathic, I can tell on an energetic level when someone is asking me questions in a way not to understand, but in a way to be combative to who I be. And I can tell that immediately. And it has taken all 40 of these years to be able to articulate what that means. There really are individuals in the world that can just tell on an internal bullshit meter, no, you're not asking me questions to be intelligent or compassionate or intuitive. You're doing that in order to be judgmental and bring shame and show a level of um, height, energetic height over me. or authority over me that makes me desire to diminish in your presence.
Mm.
And so that just came up because of what you just said. So yeah, I can now use that going forward. So thank you for that.
No, it's good. Let me just reset that. I don't disagree. There are those. I have pieces of it, but I am not an empath. Like I have empaths that I trained, and their abilities are way beyond mine when it comes to feeling others' feelings. I do not have. I can read people, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
read it through feeling their feels. So when
Got it.
people can do that, I'm like, that's an amazing ability. Some people really can do it. And I have met people who are so spirit side or heart side strong that they know immediately. I've got some of my coaches who are some very manly men who will see your fucking heart before you do. And I've jumped on where I'll be like, hey, what's up, guys? You guys ready to rock and roll today? And my guys will go like, your heart's armored up. What's up with you, man? And I'm like, how did you see that? You know, like I'm still being the Ricky Rick here. And they're like, no, your heart, dude, you're armored up today. What's up? What happened? You know, so to say that doesn't exist is too arrogant. It exists. There are people who have these gifts. And I've
Mm-hmm.
talked to too many spirit side warriors where I cannot deny there's a thing there. So if you have this energy where you can read, what is your intent to do harm? This does make it really tricky for the literal aspect that you said that no, you said this and that meant that, which means I will hold you accountable to the sentences that you put on the table, and I will hold you to accountability to the energy that you portrayed in the cadence of that delivery. I will hold you to it. You said what was the thing? You said that ASA loves to hear himself talk. You said that shit, and it wasn't with intent for love. I'm going to hold you accountable to the words you just said. You said, I just love to hear myself talk in a way to try to knock me down to make yourself feel better. Now, I could feel the energy from that. Now, I don't know if you want to stay true to that moment. I don't know if you want to keep that shit going. So I am going to challenge to understand the meaning that you did intend, because right now I'm about to put your shit on public. I'm about to make you loud to what you said is really what you said. Now, do you have the ability to reinforce the accountability to the shit that you throw out to the world? Because we will expose truth, and truth will make you not look the way you want everyone to see you. Are you ready? And so I can see the aspect of literal. I'm going to be literal with you. You said what you said, and it seemed like the intent and cadence was you meant what you meant. Now, do you want to redact, or are we going to stick to our guns on this one? Fair enough. I feel like your system has a high level of accountability. You're going to own what you said. Are you going to own it, or are you going to try and change it now that you've been exposed? And I'm not trying to expose out of harm. I'm exposing out of truth. I'm not trying to hurt. I'm trying to be honest. Now, do you hate the truth enough where you can't handle it? Because honesty now becomes a weapon to be defended against. Authenticity becomes a bad word. Truth is now how I hurt you. This is where I like the idea. Well, let's be literal.
I like
Challenge to
when
understand.
people, so my issue with, in that particular example,
Mm-hmm.
my issue has not been with someone saying, Ace likes to hear himself talk. That's not my issue. My issue is your desire, willingness to cause harm to me. That's it.
Mm-hmm. The intention.
Because even though, yes, I'm literal, so I hear the words, but I don't understand, like you said, the intention behind the words. And my empathic side says, you meant that shit to fuck me up or to cause shame in me. But
Yeah.
because I've read a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, I'm doing my best not to assume
Take it
and at
and
the
not to
same
take it personal.
and not to take it personal by doing my best in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, as an empath, as a mature empath, I have learned that to assess people's feelings without their consent is energetic molestation.
Really? I've never heard of that before. Please explain.
So when I say I'm an empath, I have been in New York. I love New York, by the way, New York City.
Yeah.
And to be on the train and I can feel the person next to me, I can feel their heart screaming and they haven't said a word, to the point that I have to get up and move to another car because their essence and their trauma is literally filling the car. And I can feel it. I've been in relationships where I tell somebody, I need you to be quiet, and they haven't said a word. Like, Ace, I haven't said anything. Your brain is going bananas right now. You cannot tell me you are not getting, like, it's a whole mosh pit all in here. And you're like, well, yeah, but how do you know that? I'm like, because I can feel it. And it's taking over the space. Okay. And when I'm in a relationship with someone, especially a romantic one, you are giving me permission to assess that, be aware of that at all times. Someone on the car, they didn't give me permission to assess that. It's basic. If you've seen any vampiric based or psychic based things, I'm from X-Men to True Blood. There is a time when a character will say, get out of my head. You don't have permission to read my thoughts. As an empath, you don't have permission to just read people's feelings like that. If you don't have a trust dynamic already, a pre-identified, a pre-agreed upon relationship, no, you don't have that. You don't get to just go around reading people's energies. And plus, it's going to deplete the fuck out of you. So you're causing harm unto yourself by molesting other people's energies without their consent. It's literally too much. And people don't give you, unless they've agreed upon that, you don't get to do that.
I think that's very cool. I don't have that gift. So to see somebody say, I think that there should be a level of respectful restriction on just abusing the power that you have been given. It's fair. I can probably say my gift was not empathy. My gift was discernment. I'm able to break shit down very, very quickly and in understanding. My gift is the other way. But I also understand that I don't use my gifts unless people are also like, I would love to have that shit broken down, please. Because people do not want shit broken down. And so I guess I can, in that way, very much agree with you. Like, I has to be some sort of consent. But this does not mean I do not see people's shit. I knew their shit before they knew their shit. So I already know most of the time I'm asking answers. I already know the answers too. I'm just seeing if you can discover it on your own way to see, do you see it too? But a lot of times, especially family or people close to you, is like, I already know what your thing is. Do you really want to know too? I'll let you know, but you have to ask.
Do you realize that the way you show up in your discernment could deflect people from ever saying hello to you? Do you know, Rick, that it is so palpable that I can see people saying,
listen,
fuck.
You know our energy is a lot. Our energy is very intimidating. So I know this. And it's actually really funny too. I was talking who was it yesterday? I was talking to Carlo Kincarini. I had him do a thing with our group the other day. He's like the kingmaker. And I was telling him the story on me where, like, I understand I came from conflict, and you've been through war, you've been through conflict, you understand hate, you understand battle. And there's a part of us, an element of us that is savage, that is hard, that is tough, that is, that I will rip something apart. There's a piece of us in there that's that. And because we understand that, because we know what that is, there's an energy that comes from that. And it's funny that you'd think that it would be tactics or action or physical training or something that's going to be in that field. That's what makes me what I am. But when you see me, it's an intimidating presence. But underneath all of this is how I help heal love and heart inside of you. And I never would have thought that what I became was a guy who helps work with men across the world to heal their hearts. I'm like, let's do a fucking workout. Let's go punch a thing. Let's go do something powerful and angry. And then when they get to know you, they're like, man, underneath all that, That's that intimidating persona that you just have, that confidence that makes me go, eek. It's a dude who will just take his armor off and go, get over here. I love on you. I'm proud
So,
of you. I believe in
and
you.
some people may think that because of your stature and your physical massiveness, that's the intimidating part. It's not. It's your ability to see through all of that. That shit feels. If you haven't considered the inner workings, the inner mechanics of your being, then someone who wants to lift up the proverbial hood is going to be freaked the fuck out.
They are. You're right. That's why I go like, only if you sign the waiver that you want me to work on your car.
And I say
I don't
that
do
comes
this to my family. I don't do this to my
right,
friends unless you want me
right.
to. Actually, here's a fun story. Even with my dad, I was very proud of my dad because, like, for the first time, he started listening to my podcast and like the parent stuff that I've had to work through and the generational curses. He's like, yeah, the more I listen to your show, the more I hate your dad. I'm like, hey, fair enough. You were a dick. He's like, yes, I was a dick. I'm like, yeah, but so was I. We all were, right? It was cool because it was the first time he called me and he said, all right, I actually want your advice. What do you see with your brother? What do you see with this brother? What do you see with me? And I'm like, you really want me to? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll just unload your shit. I'm like, this goes to this is this. You're doing this. If you don't prevent this, this will create this. This is all here. And he's like, well, shit. Thank you. Holy fuck. Those are all there. I'm like, they've been there the whole time. You just didn't want to know. And he was like, that was actually really, really helpful. I didn't see it that way. And it was something that was very cool. It was the first time my dad actually practiced a humility to say, I shall listen to my son. I shall lean in on a skill that you seem to have, because now that I see that you work with other experts in the field and other experts, they respect highly what your skill is, maybe I should listen too. And it was enough now to make him put down his I'm your father, I know more wall to go, I actually want to hear what you see because there's value in it. And I think that's the part to it is I never opened it up before. I didn't do it because it was unnecessary to do it to people who do not want it done. But the people who I interact with, like you and I, will be like, hey, pop the hood. Let's see what you got. I want you to go. I give you permission. What is the energy that you get from me? What is it? I give you permission because how do I know what I don't know? Because you have a skill I don't have. I don't have the empath energy. In fact, my heart side was my most repressed side. And if you can feel that energy or see that heart side, I give permission to go, what is it? I did an episode with Maria Callas, one of the most powerful spirit warriors I've ever met. And she's like, I can feel your spirit from here. She's in Thailand. She's like, I feel you from here. I know what that is. She's like, it's right there, that thing. And I did an episode where I let her crack my egg live, public. Ooh. And it's on there. The last Maria, I said, open the spirit up. Just go ahead and see what you find. And it was crazy powerful. It messed me up for 3 days. My energy was all crazy. Powerful how much that is. So if you have that ability, I go into discernment. And if you've got empathy, the empathetic eye, what do you see? Because I can break down, this is the discernment. And you're like, well, here's the energy behind it.
And
that
then
makes
one
a
of the
powerful
things,
team.
Yes, agreed. And then one of the things that I sometimes I remind other clients or friends or whoever, because there are times when you're in this space of helping people, whether it's with their businesses or their humility and the way you describe it or with any way. And sometimes people start assuming that you just think you're so this and you're so that. I say, well, actually, it's not that, because you're assuming that even though I'm popping the hood of others, that I haven't been unwilling to pop my own. And so even 2 days ago, I messaged my ex fiance and I called my best friend and I told them, I said, so there's something that has come up for me. And they're like, well, what's come up? I said, well, what's come up for me is that I have made a career out of dating pretty people because there's a 7-year-old little black boy who doesn't feel cute enough because he was told that his people came from white people putting mud and shit on themselves and baking in the sun. So he now makes a collection of pretty people, and that is why his past history of lovers looks like a calendar rather than a community of love. And I didn't need anybody else to pop that hood on me. I popped my own hood and came out with that knowing. And so sometimes people forget you can do that to yourself too. And the reason why I can be as loving and as considerate popping the hood of others, because I needed that same loving consideration to me.
Agreed. Well done. Well, that's Heart Side Warrior. Well done. Most will never understand what you just said. Most people will not understand what you just said. I'm not being sarcastic at all.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I get that.
Most will never know what it looks like to be truly that honest with themselves, even going into Heart Side, which is inner child, where you found your peace and the beliefs that were put inside of you to make it so you now live your life. I had the same thing. I dated wounded women. Wounded women is who I would date. Why? I grew up in an abusive home where both parents had their own levels of abuse, but I couldn't protect my mother. And since I couldn't protect my mother, and when I got strong enough to do so, I would date wounded girls so I could protect and help and save them. So it's the same concept. My little kid, though, 8-year-old me was never good enough. So maybe I can improve myself good enough by dating other women who are broken and fixing them.
Let me just be very clear. If you ever come out, I don't care if it's a full book, a one-pager, I'm giving that to so many guys because oh my God. Oh, hell. Oh my God.
What'd you find?
The foundation of daddy complexes, and not daddy complexes as in I'm a person that has a son or a daughter. Daddy complexes meaning in a relationship. So I'm daddy in the relationship. So being the person that takes care of everything, makes everything better, because there's once upon a time that I felt powerless and I couldn't make it better. Because
so I become the protection, I become the provision, I become the safety security, I become the, in any aspect of financial safety, emotional safety, I am the element that makes it so you are okay. I will be the voice of reason, I will be the leader, and I will call the shots in your best interest. I have to, because that system of control has to go to me so that everybody is okay.
Because at the height, let me be very clear. My stature is 5'6", 5'7". I am not a tall individual. And I don't say that in a depleting type of way. That's a fact. I'm not a tall individual by U.S. societal standards. And there are times when people may assume that I have a Napoleon complex, and it's so not Napoleon. It's a daddy complex. I'm not here to act, I create something counter to my height. I'm here to replenish and nurture
That doesn't sound like dad. That sounds like mom.
Right. But because I don't identify as female, I say daddy and not mommy. So even though
those are mommy side.
Right. But if you have the mom that I had,
was it reversed?
Because the first time I was ever hugged, I was 20 getting on the bus. I was 20 getting on the bus to go to Afghanistan for my first time in 2003. That was the first time I was ever hugged. So that doesn't look like mommy to me.
Correct. All. Yeah, the roles are reversed, and this is the polarization was switched around, which makes it so that the nurturing element was father, and the aggressive, more dominant element was mother. Right.
The person who put scissors to my hand, the person who beat me with belt buckles, the person who I was beat with a ladle, an actual ladle. So those type of things came from the mother, not the father.
When someone tells you that you would be identifying the wounds of the father and how you're trying to be the daddy in the relationship. You're actually just talking about taking on what should have been the feminine traits as a masculine trait.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
reversed. Mom and dad, that's the curse that got backwards. It's backwards your perspective, because now you're going to be trying to say I'm being daddy by being mommy.
And now you could call it a curse. I do my best not to judge it.
Well, I mean, curse is maybe not subjective. It's like, is it helping or is it hurting? Is it confusing or is it growing? And if you look at anything that can stifle a development, this is why I say if it's doing more harm than good, it could be a curse. And if it's doing more good than
Correct.
harm, then it's going to be growth.
And then at the
And
same
so, does this help
time,
you grow or does it make it more confusing?
and because at the same time, even though I had that, because of who she is, I've never had a thing about women. I've never had a thing about putting women
Mm-hmm.
down, not paying women in my own business, not valuing women in all aspects, whether it be military or whatever. I just always thought a woman could do, as far as any skill, when it came to an occupation, I never thought that a woman could not do what a man could do. Now, do I believe that there are things that women can offer just from being women that a lot of times men do not have in our toolboxes? Most
Mm-hmm.
definitely. But I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about that. I'm talking about from a very occupational side of things.
Now you're running into an issue that's coming up on women today, is adding in this high level of burden of performance on top of burden of beauty on women. It is overloading them because they're not built to do some of the things that guys are built to do. Remember, men have been doing this shit for thousands and thousands of years, and now women in the last 60 years now have the
Yeah,
same opportunities. How are they supposed to compete with a build or a design where no matter how you slice it, men are built stronger? We just are. And I don't
I
care.
get
I'll
that.
take any Pepsi challenge on this. And so
I get
guys
that.
have been building and constructing and doing the hard work and the roofing and the heavy labor and the cement work. We've been doing that since the beginning of the beginning. That's what we've done. And so now ladies like, well, you can do anything too. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
I did roofing, and I know that I didn't know any ladies that could take the shingles up like the boys could. It just wasn't happening. Like, there are certain things that's not because they don't want to. You can't do that. You're not built that way. Also, you had who was it? Katie Palomino. She was in the Marines. She was one of the first
Mm-hmm.
100 women in the Marines, and she wrote that article that they very fucking quickly took down. That men and women are not the same. No, the fuck, we're not. She was a
Yeah, we're
major.
not.
She was high ranking. And she did the article where she was ranked number 4 out of the top 100 women. She was no slouch. She wasn't the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
She was by all real, true, intensive purposes, as a bad bitch. She's tough. And she
Got
was. She
it.
was,
Got it.
right? But even still, she said at the end of all of it, I was still slower than the slowest guy. And when I was in combat twice, I became a liability in both combats. And the weight of just the gear that we had to wear wore her bones down to the point where she had a degenerative bone issue, and it made
Mm-hmm.
it so that her ability to bear children was taken away because her body couldn't handle the amount of stress it was under from just daily activities. She said, do
And
not
those
think that we are the same.
and those are very real experiences and very real
Mm-hmm.
things to consider, most definitely. And at the same time, who was the GI Jane when I first went into the military in 2001? My senior
Mm-hmm.
Drill Sergeant Donaldson. This woman, I've never seen this before. We are literally at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. We are doing the last FTX before graduation. It is 1:00 in the fucking morning. We are marching uphill in sand. In fucking sand. At 1:00 in the morning in the summertime. We have somebody in my company, no, my platoon. They start to fall back. And they're falling back, falling back, falling back. And she's like, no, the fuck you won't. They're the saw gunner. She takes his saw, puts it on her back where he was, and then with the saw goes up, dragging him up there. Like, you will get up there. Like, those types of things. Now, what did it do to her reproductive system? What did it do to her bone structure? I have no idea. But to see those types of things with your own eyes, it stays with you. I'll say that. It stays with you.
Sure. Yeah.
And
taking nothing away. There,
of course.
that's an elite woman, though, right? If you looked at like how many women, if you give me 1,000, how many could do what she did?
Oh no, I ain't seen that.
She's an anomaly. She's the 1 in 1,000 that could do that. It's not a common build. It's not a common thing. Mindset, and it's just not. And so this is not to say women it's impossible. No. But if we measure the standard off of the anomalies, we're going to be definitely in a disillusioned phase for the most women. Most women will be like, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? Miss Jackson did that. I'm supposed to do that. I can't even get up the fucking hill, let alone drag somebody.
Or do those women even want to do that? And my whole thing around men things, women things, they things, I desire a world where you can at least pursue whatever the fuck you think you want to pursue. Now,
do your thing.
What's that going to do to you? That's a different situation. That's a different conversation. Can you do it at the speed and the agility of those that are already occupying in that space? Maybe you can, maybe you can't yet, but you can get there, however that means for you. But as long as you have the opportunity to prove yourself, I'm good. That's all I care about. Now, if you don't meet the requirements, you don't meet the requirements.
That's part of the deal, and this is where it's getting weird, is because it's no longer becoming how good are you at what you do. It's becoming, well, because you are what you are, then I'll put you where you shouldn't be because you can't do it. And it's like, well, hold on, we're gonna fuck those people up too. Not good.
Because what you will not do.
We've been alive long enough to watch where people go too far one direction. Even the concept of like even affirmative action, for example, the idea wasn't fucking crazy. The idea wasn't insane. Like, if they weren't being hired, well, then, like, because of race or gender, that's fucked up. At least give people the chance. Don't knock them off just off the get. That's good intention. Good intention. Nothing wrong with that. Until it starts going in, we can only hire a minority. We can't hire people qualified. And you're like, well, that might be too far. Hold on a second.
That's too far.
What they found is people hired for their skin or their ethnicity or their gender or whatever who weren't qualified now can't keep up with quota, can't keep up with what the job is, and are feeling more foolish, and they feel worse. They don't feel better. It's like, well, that might be too far. Participation trophies for everybody, not a good idea. That didn't work.
Yeah, because I'm
trying to find the balance between it.
Because I've definitely seen Black people getting hired because they were Black and not able to keep up. And I've seen all whites leadership promote somebody who, good and hell well cannot do the job because I've been trying to train their asses for over a year and they haven't done this job. But because they're white, they get pulled up. And I'm like, really? Y'all gonna let this shit fly? And then they not be able to do the job. So I've seen both encounters for sure. And that's why I literally wrote a book called Why I Won't Hire Black People.
Yeah, I saw that book. There's a few of these I have questions because let me just I'll give you some praise. You do a good job with the titles of your book. Why I Won't Hire Black People. Am I man enough? Am I woman enough? You've got I see your entrepreneur show. Like you got some tough ones in here. Black and Queer. I see you've been putting a lot of books out there, which again, we're not giving you enough credit for how much you're creating because like you are highly creative and creating like answers here that people could probably get filled in. Black and Queer. Good. I don't have either of those. I got questions. I don't know. Like I have things to know. I don't know. I'm on the other side. I don't fucking have that. So I have questions, and I think this is where I think we're pointing out multiple aspects, and I'm going to go right back to the identity and the stuff here because one thing I love about people like us is we could probably talk for 5 more hours and keep this going.
Easily.
It's still good, and it's kind of cool to do that. And I think at the end of all of it, I think that you're challenging against the norm. And this is something that I highly respect about you. I find the highest honor is that people will tell you that you need to lie to be liked and you need to do what is told, so that way people will be able to accept you. And you said, I challenge you completely. I will be what I am, and I will do what I am to teach people what the right way is. And you see people who go too far with it and make it a weapon. And you see people who judge without understanding and weaponize their own beliefs. And I think there's somewhere in the middle where you and I seem to try to reside, to go, maybe, let's check. Before we just go that our assumptions and our hurt and our opinions and our beliefs are facts, and so this gives me justification to do harm. Maybe. Let's check and see first. And if it breaks the golden rule and you go against a lack of understanding without any questions, it makes it so that we only have a world of eye for an eye. What did Gandhi say about that shit?
I don't remember what Gandhi said about eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye makes the whole
leaves the world blind. That's right.
Yeah. And so here we are just blinding each other, calling ourselves the one who can see. Such a silly thing. If you really break down and say out loud what's happening, we're all doing really ridiculous behavior. And this is where I think that you and I resonate, regardless of sexual identity, regardless of skin color, regardless of anything. I see your soul, you see my soul, and we're both just trying to make it so more souls have a fighting fucking chance to not be disconnected, but be connected. And you reach one end of the group, I'll reach the other end of the group, and I'll meet you in the middle.
Yep, that's it. That's so it.
It's pretty cool, and I think it's a cool thing. We got to get ready to go. I got another one soon. It's such an honor to hang with you, ASA. People have, after this point, go like, "Damn, this energy is good. This guy is brilliant. I love the books. I love the ideas. How do I work with you? Where do we go? How do they work with you? What do we do?"
So, if you are someone that I understands that, you know what, I know some shit, and I've been knowing about some shit for a long time, and you get to say what that long time is, and you're like, you know what, I want to get paid for this shit. I don't care if you know about makeup, if you know about childcare, if you know about training, if you know about accounting, if you know about mechanics, if you know about stoicism, if you know about I don't give a damn what you know about. Believe me, there is an audience that is for you. And you don't have to lie about how you are or how you be in order to get liked or have money. There's a reason why I cuss the way I cuss. And years ago, I was able to get a contract with T-Mobile in Oklahoma City. And I told them, I said, why would you hire me? You guys know I cuss. They said, oh, well, you know how Apple has an unveiling and they have this big public thing with Steve Jobs at that time. I said, well, yeah. They said, well, T-Mobile does the same thing, but we can't show it. I said, why can't you show it? Because our leadership drops F-bombs all the time. And so the fact that you cuss, you're actually perfect for our culture. And I was like, wait, what? You like that I cuss? Like, well, yeah. Like, fuck yeah. I was like, this is crazy. So I am here to tell you, you don't have to lie to be liked or lie to get paid. You just don't. And so if you would love to at least do the steps, you can join Icon University. Icon University is a program that allows you to create, monetize, and position your expertise in a way that supports you. It's not cookie cutter, but supports you fully. If you don't want a podcast, then don't do a podcast. If you don't want to do a book, then don't do a book. It's best if you do. But if you don't want to, then don't. But we can support you there. We have weekly office hours. So every single week you will have access to us. And for a year, it's $2,500 for a year. However, if you are here because of Rick, we will give you 50% off of that tuition. So instead of $2,500 for a year, I think that's $1,250. Yeah, 1250 for the entire year. But we would love to have you. So you say, if you just no particular code, you just gotta say Rick sent me. That's it. Rick sent you, and we will make that happen.
That's an insane deal, by the way. Like, if you're not understanding the value of what he just said right there, you are out of your mind. Because, like, to give half off because you are a legend enough to make it 2 hours and 40 minutes into our conversation, and this gets you over $1,000 off on being able to change your life to find your purpose, your authenticity, and your ability to be living and doing what you're meant to do and feel fucking proud of yourself to do it. You're out of your mind if you didn't just go like, how do I get to you, Asa? How do I sign up? Rick sent me. How do I get there? Please, I want an Icon University. I'm about to sign up. What the hell?
Well, thank you. But yeah, you guys
So
have been with us for 2 hours. Those are the type of people I want to talk to.
yeah, agreed. So you're a legend if you made it this far. Praise to all of you who made it this far, because you truly are interested in growing and you made it through some high level conversation. For those of you who aren't privy to this, these are the single digit percenter conversations that most people will never know exist, that you get to be a fly on the wall for. You get to look at two guys who are like, we break shit down in different industries and we put it together to make it so you grow exponentially. Through this conversation, we put probably a few thousand years of information into a couple hours. And here you are now able to absorb what you got. But I would challenge, if you listen to this episode 5 times, you'll get something different each time, because we both go hard. In which case, to all of you warriors out there, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for growing. The links for ASA will be in the bios. Check us out on YouTube or whatever other subscriptions we have. Hit the buttons, do the thing, and we'll see you guys next time on the battlefield of the mind.